Sam, can you check to make sure the live is going on your end? It says it's live on my end.
On YouTube,
Yeah.
I see the notification on my Zoom call.
Oh, okay.
Do you still want me to go on YouTube, or is that enough? I feel like that's validation, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Sam, can you check to make sure the live is going on your end? I gotta close. It says live. Oh. On YouTube? Yeah, it's like a delay. I see the notification on my Zoom call. Oh, okay. Oh wow. Okay.
What just happened?
So I had the YouTube tab still open. Um,
I'm
and
shaking my head right now.
it's basically the YouTube is a little bit on a delay.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Got it.
Hey everybody, my name is Darcel Edwards, founder and CEO of Blink Social. We're going to get started here really shortly. Welcome to LinkedIn. Oh, I see Julian just came in. Julian, you with Brilliance in Black? Oh, hey guys, how you guys doing?
Hey.
All right. We're gonna get started in a second. I'm Darcel Edwards. Right now we got the YouTube set up, so it's gonna all be playing back on YouTube as we go. Yeah, so we're gonna just get started. I'm gonna like introduce you guys, and then have just series of back and forth questions. I love what you guys are doing. This is just a forum for you guys to be able to share everything, share Black excellence, and so we can just grow and connect with each other.
Cool.
All right. I'm gonna give it like I'll give it like 5 minutes. So Yeah, because we said on the flyer will start at 12:05, so we'll just start at that time.
Okay.
You guys have any questions for me?
No.
Give just a second.
Straightforward. Can we? Did you get our request to record?
Yeah, you guys can record. That's fine by all means. Yeah.
It says please request record.
Oh, okay.
I think we requested. I don't really know how to work this. You young kids in the internet.
Please. Teresa, please.
You don't want to see it.
Why did you do that?
Look at Michael Jackson on the background.
We keep the people who inspire us up.
The Virgos that inspire us.
I'm sorry.
That's how we are silly, so be prepared.
I'm sitting for it. It makes a fun, good time. Definitely.
Make sure you're laughing.
For sure.
With all the jokes, we can turn this into a comedy session as well. I'm with it all. For the recording, it's not giving me the option to, but I'm recording it on my end, so afterwards I can share it with you guys. That's cool.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Okay.
Yeah. Sharing is caring. Why y'all turned off the goat, Michael? You're muted.
Oh, I think it's YouTube.
You're whispering for no reason.
We're not muted.
I know. No, because they can still hear you.
Quietly, they got to listen close.
It's a good mic.
Oh yeah. Do we need a microphone?
We have one.
Yeah, if you guys want to start singing and everything,
No, you guys aren't ready for that. Not ready.
I'm sure everybody will let me see that.
And definitely get the views up.
This and then we can get started. All right, guys. So I'm about to get started. There we have another person on the call, Sion. Sion is our COO, so she has her camera off, but Sion says hello and everything, so she might chime in from here.
Hey.
Hey, I'm so excited. You guys are amazing. And I've read your bio, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
All right, so I'm just gonna start with the introduction, get the thing popping. You guys feel free. This is y'all platform, whatever. So if you guys want to take the conversation in any direction, by all means. All right, I'm gonna give a countdown to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, my name is Darcel Edwards. I am the founder and CEO of Blink Social. Today we have our LinkedIn virtual event. And our first speakers of the day is a community organization called Brilliance in Black. Would you guys like to tell the people about your guys' organization, what you guys do, who you guys are? And then I'll start to ask more questions from there. But I'm happy to have you guys. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, let's jump right into it.
All right.
Okay. Hey, I am Kiana Ebene from Baltimore, Maryland.
I'm Karima Simone. I'm from Georgia, but I live in Boston, Massachusetts right now.
And I'm Nicole, and I'm from Jersey.
And we are Brilliance in Black. Yay!
We should have did that in unison.
Oh, okay.
I know.
1, 2, 3. Brilliance in Black. We are an organization that promotes and supports the positive things happening in the Black community. We started in 2015. We really just happened. It started with a group of six 6 best friends from the illustrious Howard University. HU.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just friends that used to talk about what was going on in the world. And at some point, it was like our breaking point, and we were like, we need to promote the positive things, because all we see in the media is negative, and you know that takes a toll on your mental psyche and all of that. So we came up with Brilliance in Black.
Yeah, because this was around the time when the churches were burning, right?
Yeah, churches were burning. Freddie Gray, Michael Brown, all of that was happening. And you know, girls got their group chats and we chatting, but everything was like, what's going on in the media? So then at some point we were like, let's just start posting positive things. We didn't have a business plan. We didn't have a business name.
We should tell them a secret, right? So Brilliance really came from this, but also from one idea, one event that we all wanted to do, right? Yeah. So we all wanted to, like, we had we were talking about how like prom is so different now, and we were like, we would need to do prom over again. Like at this rate, because the way we did prom back in the day was nothing like how people do prom now. Like makeup artists and hair, we had lip gloss and we was going. And so we was like that idea coupled with our you know, it's a group chat, so all of our conversations, we like, we should put on a big event where we showcase like a lot of Black talent, Black businesses, kind of like Rihanna's Diamond, like with the class level of Rihanna's Diamond Ball, but like focused around Black everything. And that's like, that event was like, oh, we should actually dive deeper and like create a platform for people, and that's really how Brilliance came about.
And then it like really grew from there, because we all have our own personal journeys that we're going through. Like she's a writer, she's a dancer, and I like to do film. So we were like, okay, we like to do our own personal things. What about all the people in the world that, you know, like to do their things? They don't really have like the platform or the chance to really show it. So we wanted to be able to give that to them as well.
And we were also, at the time, we're in so many different cities, because you know, like, you know, you go to LA, you go to New York City, that's where you can make it. But like Baltimore, she's from Atlanta, but she's in Boston now. You know, I'm in Jersey. Another one of our co-founders is in Jersey. We had Chicago, and another co-founder of ours, she's from California, but she was in DC. So we felt like we had like cover a lot of the big urban cities, or where big populations of Black people are, to be able to give those platforms. It was like just the perfect idea for us. And then Brilliance in Black, and here we are.
Why is it important, especially coming from the Mecca, and like you just pointed out, with there being so many different Black people from different places, why is it so important to highlight Blackness because a lot of people, they just think Black people are all the same. So why is it important to highlight like the diversity within our culture?
So first of all, we were at Howard, and yes, it's an HBCU, but there's so many different cultures, right? All Black people are not a monolith. So you have your Southern, you have your, you know, inner city, you have all different type of Black people. And there's an umbrella, you know, Black, and then under it, there's everything, you know? So it's really important that people in general see that, because in the media, you get one version of Black, you know? On the TV, you get one version of Black. You get a TV show and it's one Black girl, it's one Black man. But there's so many different types of Blackness, you know, there's not just one way to be Black.
But I think you kind of answered the question also, what you said, when you're like, most people think that is one way, and that's literally the reason, because that is what most people think, and that's not the truth. And so we just wanted to be a part of that conversation, a part of, you know, showcasing the diversity.
Okay. So in the last couple of months, really since like March, the country has been hit with a pandemic, with a lot of social injustice things going on with George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. How has Brilliance in Black been holding up through these times? Because it hasn't been easy. So how have you guys been holding up through this?
I mean, it definitely hasn't been easy, but I would say we've been holding it up pretty well.
Yeah.
Especially since that's like how we started. We started when there was a bunch of negative stuff in the news, and we wanted to change the narrative and like highlight all of the positive that's happening in the Black community, because there's a lot. It's definitely bigger than the negative that's happening. So I feel like this was just another chance for us to like really.
Yeah, because that fight for racial equality was our driving force. Yeah. So when we see it still, you know, it's frustrating that 5 years later we're still singing the same song, but there have been changes. There has been steps moving forward. So it just keeps pushing us. We did have a plan we did a Baltimore Black Wall Street Festival, which is a festival of Black-owned businesses. And we had a plan to start traveling that this summer. So that, you know, with Corona and everything, that kind of came to a halt. But we started doing our Brilliance in Black Network, or BIBTV. And so we're able to promote small businesses through our TV network. So we weren't able to do our festivals. We'll get back to that when things are settled, but we're still able to do, you know, get to the core of who we are and what we do.
Yeah. And I think as terrible as the time it is, it actually, I hate to say it like that, but I feel like we've done well because of the unfortunate events, because one thing that it did do was turn a lot of the big population towards Black-owned businesses. So before, you know, people who were already on that type of wave, or maybe were raised like that, like Kiana was always raised like as a little girl, like going to Black-owned businesses and stuff like that. So that was a normal thing. But with the conversation, everything that was going on, it became like an intentional for the mass population. And so it was almost like not great, but, you know, like great in the sense that we were able to supply, because on our website, we have a directory of like Black-owned businesses from everywhere in every category. So like we would see like on Twitter and, you know, Instagram, like, where can I find Black-owned skin products? Where can I go get Black-owned coffee? Like, and we'd be like, whoop, Brilliance in Black directory, just go right on in there. And so if anything, we became a bigger asset to people.
A resource.
Yeah.
There you
go.
People's
eyes were starting to open up, and we were right here, like,
we're here already.
Like, hey, so
our numbers jumped, like our website views jumped over 2,000%. So it really, you know, it was a good thing for us.
Yeah.
So
like,
mentioned it like being a huge increase, like since all these times. Do you feel like that is just going to be a trend, or do you think that people are going to continue to support? And how do you prevent people just looking at it as just a trend, as like, oh, like, I'm frustrated with what's going on, and everybody's saying let's buy Black, let's do that. But like you guys said, this stuff has been going on since 2015, since longer than that, really. But years, it's been going on since 2015, 2014, and then like people are frustrated, and then it kind of dies off. So on the business side of things, like, you guys are getting a lot of support now. How do you guys anticipate it not being a trend?
I think the key to not making these moments a trend is accessibility. So I truly, and I may just be naive, but I feel like people will support Black businesses when they know of them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So many times people hit me up like, do you know of a Black-owned beauty supply? And I'm like, actually, I do, you know, and it may be out of the way, you know, there's one on every corner, but it's Black-owned, so we're going to go and support that. So I think when people know of these opportunities or these businesses or whatever the case may be, they are more inclined to support. So I think right now, yes, it's a trend, but once you get it in your mind, or once you start, you know, making it a habit, it becomes first nature, where you're just gonna automatically, like right now we're on a vacation. And it's like, okay, is there a Black-owned business around? It's not any around here, but you know, that's the first thing we looked for. And I think once you know of, and even because we're just so used to just going. There's a Walmart right there. There's Giant right there. We're just gonna go. But then once you're like, okay, no, I'm gonna support this small business over here. I'm gonna support this Black-owned business over here. You know, once you start training your mind to think like that, it becomes natural to you. So it's a trend right now, but I have faith in our people. I have faith. I think we're gonna stay strong.
Yeah. We have faith. I mean, but also like trends will happen. There will be some that will fall off. It's just the way it is. But I think while that is a part of it, the other part of what is happening, a lot of people are realizing. So for those people that are realizing, like, wow, I give so much of my money to other businesses. And, you know, for some people that is like something that they're like, oh, I need to, I'm going to make a different change. So the trend will, I guess, pass as trends do, but
it's a job to make sure it does.
Yeah. And consistency, like the fact, just like it went away, it'll come back. Hopefully not in that much of a tragic way,
right,
but it will come back. And I think us being consistent and being here is also a thing, because it was like when this was first, like the beginning of quarantine feels like 5 seasons right now. But like, and the George Floyd like first hit the news, friends that I hadn't even spoken to in like months or whatever were like, go to Brilliant Black and look at their directory. And it was just like, wow, because I haven't had a real conversation with them in years, but because they know like we're consistent, we're always there, we're always making sure that we're available. Like she knew where to go, where to find, and I think there will be a ton of people like that once the trend passes.
Okay, so what kind of like programs? I know you mentioned the TV network that you guys are doing. What exactly are you guys doing right now? That so when people come to Brilliance in Black, what can they find?
Wait.
I mean, it's a little hard with.
You can even talk about how you guys got to this point now, like what you guys have been doing up until this point, and what people can expect.
Yeah. So our main thing, I think, was like kind of like networking, trying to connect people and their different talents. But I mean, it's kind of hard right now with the pandemic going on. So I guess the best thing that we can offer is a directory to try to connect people like online, and also to have, that's why we started our BIB TV, to show like the talents of the people that's creating these like short films and these documentaries and these like their ads for their individual businesses. So right now, I guess that's I want to say it's the best we can do. You don't want to put people's health in danger.
Yeah. And most people are turning to social media anyway. Like a lot of people have found their creative gene in this quarantine. And so like, I think even like people are figuring out, small business owners, like, okay, how do I promote my business via social media? And usually that's a video or commercial or a TikTok or something. And they can send that to BIB TV. We're going to put it right on there. Commercial, like infomercial, whatever. Like, so I think that a lot of people are adapting to this, you know, the social media age, and we're doing the same since we can't do what we would normally do, physical, you know, events.
So we kind of got here. We started with like Instagram. That was our thing. Our very first post was Serena Williams. She won something. She's won a lot. So
the Grand Slam.
The Grand Slam, yes. Yeah. She won. That was our very first post.
I have a good memory.
Yes. In 2015. And so we kind of just grew from there. And then we started our website. Because like I said, we didn't have a plan to be a business. So we kind of did things backwards. So we just started, right? So we had the Instagram, then we did our website. We started selling apparel, shirts. We got shorts, shoes. I don't know, a lot of things. Shoes. We got all of that. And so we started with that, and we would use those funds to do our events. And so with our events, we would use like small business owners or If we knew somebody who does paintings, or we would do a sip and paint with them, or Brandon Copeland, he's the founder of Trap Yoga. We would do yoga events with him. So we did do a lot of what did you say?
We did a lot in the art scene.
Yeah, art scene, Arts for Justice. We had a bunch of different performing artists come together and just give us their art from whatever they were feeling with what was going on around the world. So a lot of that, we took what we made to create events, help people start their own businesses. We've helped people create their poetry events and all those types of things like that. And that's how we really got our start. Then we jumped into the Black Wall Street Festival, which that was another thing that we were like, let's try it. Did it again. And then, we were planning to tour it or whatever. And since we couldn't do that, someone actually reached out to us to do a channel on their TV network. And then it grew to, we moved on and did our own TV network, where now, whether we're stuck in the house for another year, God forbid, we can still use our platform to do exactly what we were doing before, just not in the physical, on the social media and TV, internet thing.
Yeah.
So we've kind of we've jumped in different forms. This is our current place.
Okay, so with everything that you guys have done, and especially with having multiple founders and just a large team, what has been some of the biggest obstacles that you guys have faced over the time?
Obstacles. Where should we begin?
Let's just go down the line.
I feel like if you ask each of us individually, we might each give you a different answer. I would say time. I know I work with the news, so I know I work nights, so my sleep schedule is completely different from theirs. So, and I know I'm extremely busy. She's extremely busy. She's busy. So just trying to get on the same schedule with our stuff to coordinate is difficult.
We haven't taken that leap of faith yet. We're on our way to just quit everything else,
our residential
and do this, right? Where we all have our own separate careers, because again, this wasn't planned. So we do what we do individually and love what we do individually. So it's kind of, it's finding that balance, like she was saying. And then also not being versed on how to run a business. So I always tell people that ask or that I talk to, find a business advisor, someone that is doing something similar to what you're doing, and let them help guide you. Because we really did things backwards and it worked out, it works out, but this was not in our plan at all. It was literally, let's do something for our people. And it became something way bigger. We never talked about a TV network. That was never even on the list, the 20-year list. And it just jumped up and it's there. And we're here and we're doing it. So definitely get a business advisor. So us kind of just jumping in. I'm glad we took the leap. But, of course, now it's okay, let's fine-tune the things to make this work smoothly.
And the last one, I was going to say, was distance. We are all in different states, and especially now in Corona times, when we're not really supposed to be traveling, and it's even harder to see each other and plan and get to things. It's just we're not. That creates an obstacle in itself, which is pretty straightforward. But I mean, everything has its pros and its cons. So us being in different cities and reaching different groups works, but sometimes it would really support us to be able to be in the same place.
So this is actually our first interview together. Usually it's one person from here, one person from there. This is the first time that we just happened to be together the same time this was supposed to be. So it was okay, new beginning. This is, it's exciting. This is the first one. Mm-hmm. So you're getting an exclusive.
Okay.
Social
extra. Listen all about it.
and with us all being Howard alum, it's all love. So like it's just like
absolutely.
That was God's intervention right there.
The illustrious.
So do you guys like? Because I know a lot of people can get discouraged when like starting a business. What advice would you give people to? What advice would you give people to keep going?
Sorry, I don't.
Technical difficulties.
I don't even know how to work this.
I think thing. You can. This is not it.
Okay. Well.
Ooh.
Put it back on the 2.
What?
Sorry, we have a. Okay.
Oh, she is our technical.
IT. Wait, where is she?
Saw us struggling and just did it.
It's a 2. Okay, we're back. Sorry. Wait, what was the question?
Ooh,
okay, I'll be
discouraging. What would you give advice to people like being discouraged? I listen.
Have a strong team. I am crazy. I come up with like 20 ideas and I'm like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. These 2 are like, okay, let's do it one at a time, break it down. Let's start with A. Now steps 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think if we did not have each other, woo, so definitely have a strong team that if you're low, they're high. If they're high, they're low, you're high, whatever, where you can balance each other, check each other. And, people say don't go into business with your friends, but I think that was the best thing that I've ever done is to have my friends that I know we in this together. And at the end of the day, no matter what, we still gonna be friends and we're gonna make it work, Aww. So that's one.
Real small violin.
What else?
And I would say if you really want to do this, just not to let anything discourage you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Will Smith, and he always talks about, you gotta fail often.
Yeah.
And then like just kind of accept that's gonna be you're gonna run into failure quite often. And we have.
Yeah.
And but you just can't let it discourage you. You gotta keep moving. Like especially if this is something that you really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't let anything like that stop you.
And recognize it's bigger than you.
Yeah.
Like if we had to quit after our first fail, because it's not even a fail, it's just a lesson.
Yeah.
We would have been a disservice to so many people that we have helped over the years. Mm-hmm. We've had events with hundreds of people. We've had events where it was just us and the performers, But
we had a great time.
But had we stopped after that, we would have never known what we could do.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think perspective, obviously, expect to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Failure is a part of growth. If you don't fail, you won't be growing because you won't get the lesson that you need. Nothing is always up. That's just not life. So under that, and then also doing your homework. So like we said, we started backwards, but a lot of the stuff that we figure out to do, we don't know how to do coming into we didn't study this. No, right. She was a business major, but we were not. Okay.
Dancer.
And it's funny because even though she was a business major, she leads a lot of she's heading up a lot of stuff. This is our creative department in one embodiment. So it's just do your homework about if it's something that if you're that dedicated, you're going to do it either way. But research, and then also be open to help. Nobody does anything on their own. They think so, but you take that advice, take that help, take that criticism. It will help you. It will all help you.
And don't be afraid to try things. Like the person that reached out to us for the TV network, at first it was like a TV network. What we about to show? Well, we don't even have a YouTube.
Are we gonna be performing?
Right. But we were like, hey, let's try it.
Yeah.
And now here we are. So really just Go for it. Yes, that's the key. Go for it. Just
Y'all
try
should see our email when they're like, "Are you gonna play our episode?" We're like, "Absolutely, we will." And it's like we would have never thought,
right,
that that's where we would be playing other people's work that they put their blood, sweat, and tears in, and they want, like, that's an honor for us that they want to showcase it on our platform. So just being open, studying. I'm the reader here, so I'm like, what is the books that we're gonna read to personally develop as a group? We can do Audible or we can read the book, but it's corny, but you need to do that to grow. So,
and you really never know who you're gonna inspire. Like, even if you do feel like you fail, because like one of our first events, it was Art for Justice. And we always discuss with each other after our events. And we were like, oh, we could have did a little better. It wasn't that great.
A lot better.
But yeah. But then like later we had some people reach out to us like, oh, that was so great.
So good.
I loved it. You guys are doing great.
Are you gonna do it again?
Are you gonna do it again? And like, they just knew how we felt. Because we were like, oh my God. We was like, but they loved it.
Yeah.
And we actually inspired they're friends of ours to start their own business. So
you just never know. So keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you guys really hit the nail on the head. Like, you really just have to jump into things and kind of figure it out as you go, because you're never going to have it all planned out. Something's always going to go wrong. So I feel like a lot of people, especially our generation, they expect everything to happen fast and everything to happen right on time and happen correctly. But sometimes you just got to jump in and figure it out. And then, like you said, be willing to learn from people. And there's several resources all around. Like in every city, there's different small business development centers. There's different accelerator programs. You just have to be willing to grind and get it. So I'm really glad you guys said those things, because a lot of people just think that the success comes overnight, but it doesn't.
I got one more for y'all. Don't be discouraged if the people closest to you don't support you. I feel like a lot of people, they expect like, oh, these my best friend, or my family, or whatever it is, like they're gonna do it. Honestly, I would say expect those to be the people that will show the least, and not because of we're not going to make it be anything, but it just seems like it turns out that way. Like you often find like the people, you're strangers, they're like, we love you guys, like we've gone to concerts and seen our shirts, we do not know them, and so we'll be like, hey, that's our company, like and it's just like, I think that can be very discouraging. You'll be like, I'm gonna start this with, and that these people are going to be the ones, so they're going to 5 shirts. Don't depend on that. Don't depend on that, because your story is probably going to touch the stranger down the street the most, inspire the most. So I think that's a really big part, because that was something that was very big to me.
Yeah, and I don't think it's malicious.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, they don't do it on purpose. It's just they know you
for something else.
Know how you are.
Yeah, they're like,
they support you.
But
in other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we wrap up, we coming to the end right now. Can you guys tell everybody where they can find you all? If you guys want to throw out your individual socials along with Brilliance in Black, where they can find you guys and what you guys got going on?
We're Brilliance in Black on everything.
Okay.
Brilliance in Black on Instagram,
Facebook.
Brilliance in Black. Our website, brillianceinblack.com.
Yeah, Brilliance in Black. Not Black Brilliance. Yes. Brilliance in Black. If you see her shirt, the brilliance is in the black.
Visionary.
Brilliance in Black. We're everywhere. We actually were just featured in the DNC Kamala Harris intro. You can find us everywhere, okay? As seen on TV, okay?
That shirt that our co-founder is wearing is available on our website.
Yes, so brillianceinblack.com, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Yeah, you can find us everywhere.
Yes, you will.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate you. I'll definitely be copping some merch real soon. So my Brilliance in Black on.
Yes, come on, HU.
You know, we got shoes too.
Okay, let's show them.
Okay.
Real quick before you kick us off. Hey.
Oh,
No, thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
We had a fun time.
Alrighty, you guys have a good one.
You
Me
too.
too. Be safe.
Alrighty.
Okay. Bye. Do we end this?
I don't know.
Cool. Now we're gonna. That was Brilliance in Black. They gave a lot of good like info, a lot of good things. They're doing a lot of dope things. So make sure you guys follow them. We have our next speaker coming up in a second. Our COO, Sion, will be moderating this next one, interviewing this next one.
Hey everyone, I'm Sion. Super excited for who we have up next. She'll be joining in a couple minutes, so yeah, stay tuned.
All right, cool.
And she'll be starting at 12:40, right, Darcel?
Yeah, 12:40.
Yep.
12:40.
I really liked Brilliance in Black. This is so dope. And I went on their website too while they were talking. They have a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, they got a lot of.
I love it.
Highlighting a lot of like powerful Black businesses in the area. And that's what we need ultimately. We just need
honestly.
to continue to showcase our excellence.
Exactly. In every way, as many ways as possible. It's like there can't be too many because there's never enough. So it's like the more ways that we could share, and I think they talked about it too, like the access thing, where it's like people just don't know, like the trend part of in the beginning of the conversation when y'all were talking about like, is this trend of buying Black business, like buying Black, gonna go away? And it's like, but now that like ideally you're gonna stick with those businesses. It's like, why would I go back to where I used to buy my hair products when I already go to this Black-owned beauty shop now? So I might as well just keep buying from there because I already shop there. So I hope that the trend, it doesn't become a trend, it becomes a norm.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head. Like the access part, like the more accessible these things are, is the more these things to grow, and we'll start to be able to have Black-owned supermarkets on every corner and stuff, just like how we see CVS and Walgreens and all these different things. So come with time and consistency. So I'm really happy they came on and was able to share everything, support each other on that. For everybody that's watching right now, while we're waiting on our next speaker, you can subscribe to the Blink Social YouTube channel. Just go out, hit that button. Ding!
We should have put a little fake button right here and just go click with it.
We have a lot of
on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. I think that I see a third person. I don't see a person, but I see the box. I think it's Rebecca.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop my video and then let you handle it. And I'm gonna switch you over to the host.
Will I be okay? Rebecca, I see it says you're connecting to audio. It says you're on mute. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Hey, how are you, Sion?
I'm good. Oh, I like your background. That looks so calming. Oh my gosh.
This is how
attending all my meetings, just pretending I'm at the beach somewhere.
Absolutely. That's what for my work meetings too. I just have it. I'm like, that's where I want to be right now, but I'm actually at home, so it's okay.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for coming. Okay, so we're live on YouTube, so I'll do a little introduction and then we can get started. Hey everyone, again, my name is Sion. I'm the CEO of Blink Social. Our speaker for this time is Rebecca Mamuye. She is currently, she runs a blog called Amro Manor, which means living beautifully in Amharic, and she's also a digital designer working in the tech industry. She's a content creator based out of Seattle, Washington, and a University of Washington alum. And on her blog, she shares fashion, travel, and lifestyle tips. So thank you for coming. We're so excited to have you. Really excited for the conversation and questions we have. So I have a list of questions, them answer, but of course, take the conversation where you want, and we're really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
All right. So I gave a little intro, but can you tell us a little bit more about you, kind of what started Amro Manor, and like what brought you to here, to now?
Yeah, so I started blogging as a result of, I was in the business school in college, and I was super, doing the accounting route. It was really boring classes that lacked a lot of creativity and inspiration for me personally. So I was trying to find a space that will enable me to do that. And I had a really good mentor named Rahel, who was just like, you should do this like blogging thing. And I was like, I guess like I like taking pictures and doing all that. So I started it as a creative outlet in college, having been encouraged by her as just an outlet for creativity. And that was like what I really used specifically in the business school. I think there was, I went to Foster School of Business at the University of Washington. There's a huge push for finance and accounting focus, and being somebody that was interested in marketing and information systems, I felt like I just didn't have like what I really wanted to thrive in creativity. So I had to create that space, and that was my way of creating that space for myself. And it ended up, I really wanted to work in the fashion industry on the business side of fashion after graduating. And my blog was something that I actually leveraged to have my interview with a major retailer, to work in the buying offices of a major retailer. So it was something that was actually really helpful for me in my career as well. So I'm really glad that I listened to her.
Yeah, it's like what you did outside of school, and then your like actual degree kind of came together afterwards and actually worked in your favor to kind of be able to let you do both in the way you wanted.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was very, very instrumental in that conversation that I had, because it was, we had conversations about like school and all the great things, but it was like, what specifically with fashion, we don't have a fashion focused thing at Foster. So it was something that I really had to leverage and be like, oh, here's how I've shown interest in this industry. And it was a great like conversation starter, like interviews are always awkward. So it definitely made that conversation much simpler and smoother for me.
Yeah. Have you always wanted to work in fashion and kind of on the business side, or was it like you kind of saw them as separate things and then this helped them come together?
I've always been interested in fashion, like since I was super young, but obviously like coming from an African household, my parents were very firm in what they wanted me to do. So it was just like, how can I find a sweet spot that would make them happy? Because I don't want to disappoint them either. But I also don't want to feel like, what I felt in interning for accounting firms and things like that, focused on, specific things. There may be other things that I may like at these firms, but at that time, I just that's not where my heart and interest were. So finding something that was, working for the both of us, it was a perfect middle ground. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Having to kind of unfortunately just have to, recognize that there are expectations that I am expected to meet. And then how do I still do what I want with my life, but meet those expectations, but not compromise what I want, because it's also still my life at the end of the day. So, you don't want to just go on like living for other people, but some parts of our culture kind of make us in that way, you know?
Yeah,
So
unfortunately. It
yeah.
really sucks, but I felt like for me, it kind of felt like I got away with what I really wanted because
Right.
I'm happy, you're happy, I don't have to hear it from you.
It worked out. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's always good. Yeah, definitely. So your work is very, you know, in person, very like, you know, it's a very relationship focused. Fashion is obviously something that, like, you know, it's clothes, it's tangible things. How has the pandemic and just everything going on right now since, like, if we're going to be honest, like February, March-ish, how has that affected your work, not just as a blogger, but kind of, you know, as the digital designer, the fashion marketing, all that kind of work? How has it affected that?
Oh wait, I completely skipped the part where I said, okay, so I switched from being in the fashion industry into tech.
Okay.
And
okay.
My blog to do that. And how I did that was I was super interested in front end web design. So I took this course with another mentor of mine who really focused his efforts in helping front end web designers understand design. And I was like, well, I kind of like the sweet spot right here. And I was just super interested in UX. I voiced to another mentor of mine that I had interest in UX and just asked, you know, if you have any other projects coming up, I would really just love to jump on board, and ended up doing it that way. So I now work in the tech industry, and my only fashion contribution is happening through my blog, which hasn't been terrible. It's just a different
so now you have to make time for it in a different way.
Exactly. So like in fashion, my, you know, core focus was the consumer, right? Like, how do I specifically as a buyer ensure that somebody else walks into a store and has the best experience that they have, in ensuring that all the merchandise is there and I'm like fulfilling all these products. So there's a lot of logistics that goes behind that. The business side of fashion is super interesting, but there's just a lot that people do not know. And then now it's different because it's the web, and you're designing things, and you know, there's a whole psychology behind it that I really love in my current job.
To me. That's the best part. Yeah, I love I studied human-centered design, so So yeah, UX is, I love the understanding how people have experiences. That part is so fascinating. Definitely.
Yes, absolutely. And what I love about what I currently do is a lot of the stuff that we do is equity work. And there's just so much purpose behind that for me, specifically in the times that we're living in talking about the pandemic. Like, I think there's been a lot of realizations this year, and hopefully, you know, a lot of these doors that existed have been kicked down. We've seen a lot of breakdowns in the systems that have been, you know, not working for a long period of time. It's just come to the forefront. We've had really difficult conversations that we should have had years ago. So I feel like that door has been opened, and there's a lot of room and space for us to create and better, you know, the world that we live in. So a lot of necessary like conversations are happening. It's going to be uncomfortable. There's a lot of things that, you know, just knowing that the healthcare crisis that we're in, looking at how racism has worked in shaping our country, it's been harsh, but I'm so glad that we're here, because these are conversations that should have happened years ago, and we're having them now. And I'm hopeful that we are going to, from the next generation that comes after me, from my children, I want them to live in a way better world that I, you know, lived in. So I'm just glad that we're able to move that work forward and move that needle forward. So
definitely, yeah, I agree. I think now it's like, now to a degree we can finally have more candid conversations about them. So I would say that even I work in corporate right now, and like we're now talking about things that it was just like it wasn't even like people didn't want the space, but those spaces weren't created because it just was like not the right environment for them. But now it's like we can't ignore that anymore. We have to have these conversations. So now it's like, okay, now we can address the elephant in the room. This is great. We can finally do that. You know? So,
it's so great because you just feel so
in that way it's refreshing.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's been really refreshing to sit through. But yeah, I mean, you know, self-care at
yes, you through. Absolutely. Okay, so So, okay, let's talk a little bit more about your blog and kind of how have you been using it during COVID, have you been able, do you feel like your blog has given you like a greater platform and you've been able to kind of, you know, build it more during COVID, or do you feel like COVID has impacted, or how has it impacted your blog and blogging?
Well, I think in it's a lot because it's not just COVID, it's like the events that have happened in this year specifically have opened a lot of doors in regards to having conversations about race with people that you partner with and how that is like important to you, right? So for me, my blog has always been more of a, well, was a lifestyle, travel, really travel focused, and obviously we're not traveling right now, but there's been a lot of conversations that I've personally wanted to have in regards to career, in regards to mental health, on my blog. And I've really wanted, well, I have been using this time to really open that door to have those conversations, specifically in mental health, and being, you know, well equipped in understanding each part of your well-being. Finances have been something that I've been talking about. And initially I was like, oh my God, like, is this even my space, right? Like when you so
Stepping out of bounds. Yeah.
but it really is not a thing, is you are a person, we're very multidimensional, right? Like there's so many factors that I have to think about that even enable me to travel. So money is a huge one, right? Like mental health is a huge one. Travel was a way for me to escape. This was like a way to, it's therapeutic in a way. And I've had to find other ways to really get myself in that space to be mentally well. In African communities, mental health is not something that we commonly talk about. And I really wanted to put myself out there and having these conversations because it's important. It's important that we better ourselves to ensure that people that we bring into the world have a better life than we do. That's something that is a very motivating factor for me, is I have to do the work that's necessary to heal myself and heal my trauma and understand myself and care for myself to ensure that I'm a well-equipped, you know, individual to be the best mother that I could be for a person that I will bring, God willing, into the world.
Right.
So, and just, you know, like growing up in an African household, like we don't talk about these things. These things are like, you're supposed to work through the struggle and just understand that, you know, keep your head down. Therapy is not something that we talk about. And I think, I don't think that's the way that it should be. I think we should be encouraged to take the best care, you know, for ourselves, and even understanding the topic of, you know, therapy, and that is a privilege, right? It is a costly thing. And hopefully it's something that can be extended out to every American, because people should be, healthcare should be a right in that sense. And this is part of our healthcare. So for me, it's just breaking down those doors, those like limitations and boundaries that you've built for yourself and these algorithms have built for you to just like participate in as a content creator, and just saying, no, like there's plenty of dimensions to me, and I don't want to be limited by these things.
Yeah, I agree. I think what stuck with me the most is, I think what you were saying about, I see someone else joining. Oh, he's one of our speakers. I think he joined in a little early. Maybe he wants to listen in. But I think what really stood out to me about what you were saying is that it sounds like during all of this, that your blog has created an opportunity for you to almost like break the limitations or boundaries you set for yourself as to what you could be as a blogger and content creator. And I think like, I don't think, at least I personally haven't really thought about this time as being something like where I am now seeing like, I had these ideas of who I was.
Yeah.
And who I could be, but it's actually so much more than that, you know, and now I can wear these 16 different hats if I want, because I can have those things. Like I can do that.
Yeah.
You know?
And the majority of the times we've been wearing them, right?
Right. We just don't want to recognize the differences. We're like, yeah, it's all the same. You just clump it all together because you're also one person. So you don't see that as like different dimensions of who you are. You're going to see that as like, well, this is me. All of it is me together. Right.
Exactly. So it's just like walking into that purpose and understanding that you can shift and pivot. You don't have to be limited to certain things that you like talked about. Like it is okay to grow,
right?
You know? And not just be this one person that you thought you were going to be, I don't know, 5 years ago.
Right.
There is a different me now because I've lived, and walked through circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think has there been anything that you talked a little bit about self-care, but have there been things that you feel like have helped you kind of open those boundaries, kind of break those barriers for yourself?
I think the conversations that have like been happening, right? Like that we see have been really and we feel this in the corporate space, right? Like it is the elephant in the room is everybody knows that I'm Black,
Right.
you all know that I have a Black experience.
Is Black, cool.
Yeah. But then now it's like having other people understand the weight of the problems that you've been carrying and silently working through, it feels good for that pain to be acknowledged, and sometimes like when we talk about money has been something that I've been talking about and talking about pay, right? Like for Black women, we are being underpaid, being, the average being between 60 and 63 cents, for every dollar that a white man is making, having to work 8 months into the new year.
Every time I hear that number,
you know what I mean? But like, people should know these things, and people should be understanding of the weight that you're carrying as a Black woman, and it feels good to have people acknowledge that. Like, it's not saying treat me as, the queen of anything, but it's like, understand that I am walking through hell and back to get here,
and the hell that you don't see, you don't experience.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like, how can I get you to understand what you don't see and still recognize that it's real? Because I feel like a lot of the times it's like people can't see that two realities can coexist. They feel like if one reality exists, that it invalidates theirs. And that's where this comes, It's like, now I feel invalidated because you have a reality I don't understand. It's like
exactly. Like, how is like, that's, yep. You nailed it right there.
Definitely. Yeah. So I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit about your partnerships. You mentioned you're talking a lot about finances on your blog, and I saw on your Instagram too. You've had some really amazing partnerships with like Baygood in King County to do free COVID testing. In Seattle, I saw with Hamdi, as well as your kind of collaboration with BECU and talking about financial well-being. Can you share a little bit about either one or both, if you want to go into both, kind of either how you came about those partnerships? A lot of the times I feel like as young Black entrepreneurs kind of growing in these spaces, it might be difficult to build these collaborations with like such a big organization. So can you talk a little bit about how you got those and what they did for you?
Yes, actually, so BeGood was not a partnership with me. It's something that King County worked on, that my friend Hamdi Muhammad led, who is an incredible advocate for people and really inspires me tremendously. So I was just like volunteering for that event. And it was something that really needed to happen, right? Like a lot of communities of color are feeling this pandemic at a much heavier rate than other communities, and being able to show up for our community, which we should all encourage ourselves to do, was really, really incredible for me. So that was a great experience. But in other partnerships, for me, so bloggers, content creators constantly reach out to folks. And then there's like different agencies that are both in state and out of state or nationally that reach out to you to pitch like various campaigns for you to be on. But for me, it's really important to align myself with brands that I personally use. So BECU was, I've been a member with them for a really long time. I've had I really have had great experiences with them. So it felt very on brand for me. And I had an authentic voice in everything that I said. In, talking about pay, I was they were very encouraging to hear my voice and talk about me and the adversities that I've experienced as a Black woman. And I only want to work with people that are like that. I don't want to compromise my authentic voice to, align with anybody else's brand. And I felt like their brand really aligns with mine. And I've seen some of the work that they've done in our community. So it just felt on brand for me. And I know that there's brands that I personally reach out to that, you know, pitch yourself and saying, hey, here's all the stuff that I'm doing. Love your brand. Hope we can partner together. Or you know, work with small businesses, women-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses that you can, you know, collaborate with to just ensure that there is enough awareness and people know about these incredible brands that you're using. So it's definitely a two-way street. And for content creators, one thing I would really encourage is really put yourself out there. Like, the worst thing that you can hear is no. No, it's not that bad. It really is not. Like,
Yeah.
Nothing happened to anybody that was told no. You just get back up and you just, you know, and sometimes it's a no right now, but I may be back, you know, like,
Exactly.
and they may come searching for you. So just keeping hope alive and knowing that there are so many people out there that you can partner with. Like, the world is so big. So
Yeah.
don't narrow it down to the 2 or 3 no's that you hear. Even if it's 100 no's, that one other yes can pay you
more than
everybody else combined.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a really good point. What's crazy is our last speakers actually kind of touched on that too. They really highlighted, like, they're called Brilliance in Black, their organization that hosts events and have a directory TV channel highlighting Black businesses, the Black community, you know, just really showing that being Black is not a monolith and really highlighting the differences within the Black community. But they really talked about as well, just like putting yourself out there. You just have to go for it. You just have to try. You know, and it's like that's what gets you your opportunities. The amazing things you come across is you stepping out of your comfort zone and just trying it, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's so true. Is like, it's really a matter of how much you put yourself out there, right? Because no, it's just a no. You never know what a yes could do, right? So
absolutely. So definitely do not give up. No is not no is a word that we should use. Okay, I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna try somewhere else, but don't ever.
Definitely, that's so true. Okay, so last question. We're a little bit less than 10 minutes left. So kind of on that same note of partnerships, collaborations, putting yourself out there, what are some of the obstacles you feel like you've had to, or maybe like the biggest obstacle you feel like you've had to overcome or face as a Black woman who's a content creator, you know, in a space that's predominantly white?
Ah, man.
I know, so that's a pretty loaded question.
Yeah, it's a loaded question. I'm like, okay, how do I break this down? So sometimes personally, I obviously have experienced a lot of no's, and I want to be very open about that. And sometimes you get to a space where you're like, maybe just like what I'm doing is not valuable, you know? But really understanding your purpose and who you're doing it for, like, that's what really helps me get back up in those moments where I lose hope and I'm discouraged by something somebody has said, right? Like, people, some people just are not the kindest when they shut doors on you. And sometimes it's important to experience people like that, because this is something that I pray about, is like, I never want to be that person, right? Like, I always want to be a person that's opening doors for people. I never want to be the person that's closing doors. So it's important that I have these experiences, because I'm like, okay, I have to walk, you know, with so much empathy and understanding of people that I never want them to feel what I'm feeling right now. And even in having experienced these no's, sometimes you become your worst enemy by saying, you know, by fortune telling, because you get to a point where like, they're not going to want to do this anyway. Yeah. And it's like, you know, I can only be me in this world. I'm not going to try to be anybody else. And I'm definitely not going to be the one that's going to close the door on myself. I will always give that opportunity for somebody else. It's going to be somebody else's job to close that door on me. I will never, and this is an affirmation I always have to say to myself when I send these emails, I will never be the one that's going to close the door on myself. I am going to relieve myself of that duty, because it's not mine, you know? And that's the thing, is don't ever get to a place where you don't feel like you can't be your authentic self. Because then it's not even about partnerships, but it's about the community that you even want, you know, around you. You want to be your authentic self. You shouldn't want to be anybody else but you. Because I'm an expert in my story, right? And I have to really own that. And it's very apparent when you are writing or creating from spaces where you're not. So each of us are an expert in our story. And that's why you have a community, right? You have a community of people that you know, love sharing love with, or sharing like travel tips, whatever the case may be, is that you have that community. So you should always be encouraged to use your authentic voice. Yes, I understand that I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but that's not my problem. You know, that's fine. I don't mind not being everybody's cup of tea, but I'm not going to do myself a disservice by lowering my frequency to accommodate anybody else's fragility. I'm not going to do that to myself. So
wow,
just keep, like, that's the thing, is affirm yourself, even if you have to do it 20 times a day, is don't ever lower your frequency. There will always be people that are willing to meet you where you are. Always. It's just a matter of timing. And you have to be consistent. That's something I tell myself every day too.
Yeah.
It's hard. You're like, I'm balancing so many things in my life, and I have to do this other thing. But be consistent. Don't ever close the door on yourself. Always give another person the ability to do that. It's not your job to tell yourself no.
Yeah.
Like, relieve yourself of that duty. It's not yours.
That's so true. And I think even that in itself could be an affirmation. Like, I relieve myself of this duty to close up the door on myself, because we shouldn't be doing that. That's a disservice to yourself. You're so right. Yeah. That's a really good point. Well, thank you for those gems. Those were amazing. So, okay, I'm going to ask you one last little question, and then we'll see where everyone can find you. Then you can share your socials and things. What's one book or podcast you're listening to right now that you want to share?
Woo, girl. Okay, hold on. What? Okay, so I am Michelle Obama podcast.
Okay. How would you rate it on a scale?
Well, what's the highest? I love Michelle Obama. Her book was amazing. And it really shaped how I approached this year, although this year decided to become something else. But, we're not going to talk about that. It's just good book, incredible person. Her voice is so therapeutic to me. So I highly recommend that. Maybe just that. Read her book and listen to her.
There we go. That's both. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for sharing those. All right. So as we wrap up, where can everyone find you? What can we expect from you in these coming months before 2020 comes to a close?
Oh man, what could we expect? Okay, so you can find me on Instagram. It's I am Abyssinia, ABY. Hold on, SSINIA. I'm Abyssinia. My blog, Amromenor, AMROMENOR.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Rebecca Mamuye. If you have any questions about career, blogging, content creation, DM me. Or message me, whatever works for you. I like email too, so you can also email me. What to expect? I think stepping more into myself, honestly, there's some things that, having worked in corporate and now being in a space where I can talk about anything, because there's a lot of, I couldn't work with certain brands while working in the fashion industry because, I signed contracts and exactly. So more of that. I am a free bird. So it feels good to that freedom. And also just not having that like corporate voice, right? Like being in the tech industry, I feel like there's kind of, well, depends on which part of the tech industry that you're on. But I feel like I have more freedom in a way to do and say a lot of things. It's a much, newer industry. So it's much more, chill, and there's not as many. Exactly. I feel like professionalism has a relatively different definition in this space. And I really like that because I can just mold myself or, become whoever it is that I want to be. So it's going to be more of finding my voice or being public about it,
Well, that's amazing. We love to see it. We're excited to see what you put on your blog and Instagram. Thank you so much for coming today. All right, everyone. That's Rebecca. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for coming.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. All right, y'all. It's a wrap. That was amazing. Thanks, Rebecca, again for dropping those gems. We hope you enjoyed them. Darcel, welcome back, and I'll let you take it away.
That was
great, right? That was amazing. She dropped some gems too.
Yeah. I didn't even know Michelle Obama had a podcast. I heard about her book. I
think it's pretty recently dropped.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Right.
Gems, even like I always knew like Black women are underpaid like significantly to white men, but just actually like hearing the actual numbers and it's just like wow, like that's
63 cents to the white man's dollar. Isn't that crazy? Like when I really think about that, I'm like, you just have to sigh. Like there's no other way to like. It's baffling. It's baffling.
It's really crazy, and it just shows like why it's important for us like
us to have these conversations.
Yeah, for us to have these conversations. So Black men
absolutely
know their worth and know their value, and then like it needs to be opportunities for them in every industry. There needs to be opportunities. So I'm glad that was a great conversation.
Yeah, that was great. And I for some reason I keep thinking back to also what Brilliance in Black was talking about, access, and like, you don't know what you don't know, and like just creating those, even though they were talking about buying Black, like it really comes back to like we just need to have spaces for us to know about these things. We have to have conversations. We have to have directories, websites, TV channels, networks, like whatever it is to give more knowledge and access to things. That's what we need to be creating for the Black community. So it's really exciting to see that. We got some amazing speakers, and I'm sure all our viewers are just as amazing in doing this work too. So we hope everyone's enjoying it.
So for those of you guys who are watching, you guys could press the subscribe button up in the
right here, wherever it is. Press the at Bling Social on Instagram, at Bling Social on Twitter, The Bling Social on Twitter. Subscribe to our newsletter, our zine, at theblingsocial.com. Don't miss out.
We got a lot of dope stuff on the way. We just released a new series called On The Go, Fitness and Health. Go check that out after you watch this on our YouTube. We got it going on.
Stay tuned. Got to get that body right for summer 2021, because we here and summer is over. So
catching the Rona. We staying in the house. Protect yourself and protect others.
And protect your peace.
All right. Well, let's get into our next speaker. I think we have him on the call.
I'll let you take it away.
Give him a second to come on
and everything. Hey, what's good? What's good, Darcel?
What's up, Jordan? How you doing today?
Good, man. How you been?
I'm good, man. How you holding up? How you holding up on this nice Saturday?
And I'm chilling, bro. Thank God. Just got off the phone with the client actually about a video we were working on. Yeah, man. How about you? How you been?
I'm doing good. I'm staying. We've had some good speakers thus far, and I know you're about to step in and you're about to kill and just drop a lot of game and gems and share the world, share with the world about yourself and what you got going on. So I'll get it started. I'll kind of read your bio, and then like you can kind of go from there and kind of tell the people more about yourself, and then I'll ask you more questions and then we can jump into it.
All right, great.
All right, cool. So everybody, my name is Darcel Edwards, founder and CEO of Bling Social. Our next speaker today is Jordan Mateen. Jordan is a filmmaker and a screenwriter based out of the DC area. His production company, Mateen Productions, specializes in commercial videos, music videos, and short films. He has also worked as a production assistant for BET, Showtime, ABC, along with interning with the documentary film company Florentine Films. His next big project is a web series about college life, set to be released through his production company within the next year. So Jordan, welcome. Thank you for coming on. Is there anything that you want to add and tell the people about yourself?
Yeah. So like you said, I'm a filmmaker. I'm like an auteur, I'd like to say. I've along with working with Florentine, I've also just completed an internship at HBCU in LA, which is an amazing internship where you have Howard students or other HBCU students come to LA for a summer and work with production companies like BET, Showtime, etc. But luckily, unfortunately and fortunately, you know, it was online due to COVID and everything. So we had a series of web interviews, but it was great because it was a good networking system. We had more people that were able to be involved. And I've learned a lot from so many people, you know, all throughout the summer. So yeah, definitely shout out to them.
So tell me about like going to HBCU, the HBCU that you went through, and like what kind of like connections and access to different things in your professional field that like that HBCU has helped you with.
So I would say that I definitely had a lot of knowledge that I gained from going to Howard. I went to Howard, it's in DC. My network so far, honestly, having just graduated in May, most of my network has come from people that were either went to Howard, go to Howard, you know, or alumni, or people, you know, it's basically all been through Howard. All the PA gigs, all the internships that I've had, all are connected to somebody in Howard. And it's been a great experience to meet other Black filmmakers, you know? Growing up in Virginia, where I'm from, it's a very mixed environment. There aren't that as many Black people, it's a lot of white people and Indian people. So like, it was very cool seeing other Black filmmakers, learning more about the craft in terms of, I've seen hella Black movies growing up, but it was great seeing more things I hadn't heard of, having great, you know, wonderful discussions, and then meeting other people that are in positions that I want to be in. Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of inspired you like growing up, like especially where you grew up? You just mentioned not being around a lot of like Black folks. So what inspired you to jump into the film industry and create like Black films?
I think honestly, I've always loved film growing up as a kid. Like I don't know what it is, but like I was able to, when I was a kid, I could recite like all the dialogue from like my favorite episodes, like SpongeBob or the Fairly Odd Parents. Like I had it memorized off of like a few watches, you know? I used to tell time in like SpongeBob episodes. Like I'd be like, all right, if this didn't gonna be 30 minutes, I'm like, all right, cool, I could watch an episode of SpongeBob in that time. You know what I mean? Like that's how I saw things. And then I would also used to like watch commercials and like make my own commercial ideas for the different products I was watching. So I've always been interested in it. And as I grew older, I started watching more films. I started getting deeper into like foreign films too, especially now. And it's just cool seeing another person's perspective. I feel like the best things I've able to watch, they touch me in a certain way, you know, like they make me feel something, you know. And that's the kind of content that I want to create too. Something that you watch and you feel inspired, you feel loved, you know what I mean? You come out the theater crying or energized, you know, empowered, hurt, you know, just being able to make something and have other people feel those emotions is all I want to do, you know?
So what are some of your like main like inspirations as far as like other filmmakers, other films? Like what are some of your main inspirations?
So I would say definitely my favorite director growing up has to be Martin Scorsese. You know, I think he's a perfect filmmaker overall. I don't think I've seen a filmmaker better than him. His movies are so captivating, so like especially genre defining. Like, you know, he has his own style of film, and I think that my favorites from him would be like Raging Bull. Have you ever seen that with Robert De Niro? Taxi Driver again with Robert De Niro. And I like Quentin Tarantino, who I feel like he's created his own world with all his films, you know? He has certain products, like he has his own universe. How Marvel has, you know, things that overlap between the different movies, Quentin Tarantino has done that with his. So like he's created his own world with products, like I said, characters, and you see the overlap, you know, like one character will be like the great grandson of another character from a previous movie, you know, or like the cousin or things like that. On a foreign aspect, I would say my favorite filmmaker is probably Wong Kar-wai. And I love he's a Chinese filmmaker, and he's made the movies like In the Mood for Love, another one called Chungking Express. They're kind of hard to find online, honestly, but there's a website called Criterion Channel that if you want to go check it out, you can find it there. And I like the way he structures his movies. It's just a different style, you know, like you don't realize it, but all the film that we watch or all the videos we watch, you know, are in an American or European style. So seeing something from like Asia, it's like, oh wow, we see the same structure and everything, but it's completely different, you know? Like the love, all the emotions are still there, but it's told in a different way. So seeing that really opened my mind. So yeah, them and then the Coen brothers are just great too. Yeah.
What films do the Coen brothers have?
So the Coen brothers, they made Inside Llewyn Davis. They made The Big Lebowski. I don't know if you ever heard of that. They made what else? Oh, Fargo, which is also a TV show now on FX. And then my favorite would be No Country for Old Men. Great movie. And like all their movies are so different. I'd be like, oh wow, the Coen brothers made this. Like, and I want every movie you see from me to be like something completely different. You never, like you wouldn't have guessed. I like that. Yeah.
Okay, so when you mentioned a lot of like your inspirations, like how much time would you say you like spend like studying like these other filmmakers, and how much do you take from each to put into your own films to kind of create your own style?
So I would say that I spend a lot of time watching their content, and I'll watch a lot of video essays about their content too. And like with the movies that I watch, I take like certain aspects. It'll be things that I look at. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll remember that. I'll go back to it. And I started buying a lot of DVDs now too, because streaming is cool. But one thing I love about DVDs is that you can like, they have like special features. Like they'll have commentary about the movie too from the director, behind the scenes things. So like, not only do I watch the movie, but then I look at like what the director did, like his process throughout that movie. And those are the things I take more rather than like the overall arcing, part of the movie. But like, for example, Inarritu, who's one of my favorite Mexican directors, he made The Revenant, right? And he had to go to it with Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. Yes, but they shot everything, like no special effects, just natural lighting, 70 millimeter cameras. So when you watch it in the theaters, it looks like you're seeing like out here, like you're seeing everything. I'm like, and I watched all the behind the scenes stuff to see how they actually did it. And it's like, it just teaches me more. So the movie I watched, if I really love the movie, I watch it once or twice, and I watch everything that it took to make the movie more than that,
That's dope. That's really dope. So when we talk about like the film industry and getting into it, like how often do you see other Black men of color in this industry?
Honestly, I haven't. So I've been looking for more people in the area, in this DC DMV area, because I know I'm about to be here for the next year. A lot of people, I've been looking for more mentors, and I found them through Howard. Like my friend Ray Jones, shout out to Ray, he's amazing, a genius. But then like seeing Black men that really made it, it's it's fewer and far between as the levels go up. Somebody that I've been looking up to a lot is Barry Jenkins. He directed Moonlight, If Beale Street Could Talk. And he's actually the person that put me on to Wong Kar-wai, one of my favorite directors now, because like Barry had to do the same thing in that he was a director 20 years ago and he couldn't find anybody else that was in the industry like I'm looking up to him. So he just found a lot of foreign directors because he wanted to change his style completely. And you see that in Moonlight. Like the reason why like Moonlight is so different is because it's like he's taken aspects that Wong Kar-wai, like the use of color, in a lot of the movies, like how it reflects on the skin tone. He got that all from Wong Kar-wai, So it's cool seeing him, and then Antoine Fuqua, who does like big blockbuster movies, which isn't something I really want to do, but he's done like, I think he did Training Day, he did The Equalizer, and then what's his name? He just died recently, actually. Boys in the Hood.
Oh, John Singleton.
Yeah, my bad. John Singleton. He's been great too. Like, but other than those few, a lot of the ones I look up to are more up and comers, which is honestly a good thing because they feel more accessible. Like in our chapter we have Gerard too, who's made 2 movies so far that have made over $100 million, which is a feat for anybody, but especially a Black person in this industry. But like he's right there. So it's great seeing. I'm looking more so in terms of Black men and women. I'm looking more so to like the people up and coming. Oh, and I have to shout out Ava DuVernay because she's been amazing in everything that she's done. So yeah.
That's good. So, what advice would you give somebody that's like maybe younger or thinking about film, but they may not want to jump into it because they might say like, oh well, there's only a couple of prominent Black people in this industry. Like, what advice would you give people, younger Black kids trying to jump into this industry? What advice would you give them to take the next step?
I would say definitely, keep trying, get on as many sets as possible. Don't be afraid to do free work. For me, I'm getting to the point where I'm finding my voice now. I spent the last 3-4 years working every single position possible on a set, being a PA, being the guy that's just holding up the lights, being the guy that's setting, then I graduated to the guy that's setting up the lights, and then assistant camera director, assistant director, like I worked all those positions. I know exactly what I like. And that also helped me because now when I'm working on my projects, like this web series I'm about to drop, I'm about to start shooting soon. I have a basis and a certain knowledge of every single position on the set. So I'm going to have somebody there, but now I also have that knowledge. So like I can help out if I want to, or, I have a better basis of what we need to do. So I definitely would say, keep working, do a lot of free work, and then work every position possible to figure out what you want.
So talk about like the free work aspect, because I know a lot of people would be like, well, like if I'm not getting paid, I'm not about to waste my time, or I'm not about to go work for free. So why is it so important to work for free?
So I can understand that, because that's how I felt at a certain point when I thought that I knew everything, when I realized that like the value that I'm getting is way more important than the actual money. And I still do this now, and I'm still reaching out to people because I started doing music videos too. And I want to get better at that. So I'm willing to be a PA, even though I feel like I could be directing things. I'm willing to be a PA because it's always a learning opportunity. Just being in that set, being there, like the more you practice, I actually just got this tattoo. It says repetition is the father of learning. Keep repeating everything, keep trying, keep working. You know what I mean? Keep going after what you want, because the more you learn, the more you're in that situation. When the time comes for you to do your own thing, you're going to see that, it's going to be easier for you. And that usually comes with free work, because when somebody has to pay you, they're going to expect a certain level of expertise, and I'm not saying that you don't have that, but the free work is the best thing, is the best way to just get people on your side, to build those connections. And I think it's kind of like an industry thing. Everybody has to do it at some point, and it's something that I'm learning. I'm still doing too. Like I said, I want to do more music videos, I want to keep working and just learn as much as possible.
So out of like all of like the PA jobs that you had and like just different assistant jobs, what set did you learn the most on, and like was there like a lesson or story that you learned from something individual that like stuck with you the most?
Yeah. So I would say I have two that come to mind. One is an internship I had last summer with Florentine Films. And I chose that internship. I had basically a full-time job at this apartment complex, right? And I chose to work that internship, even though I knew I'd be making much less money, because one, it was a chance for me to get out of the area. It was in New York. And then two, it was a documentary film company. And I liked documentaries before. I didn't, think too much of it, but it widened my, my knowledge so much. I worked on 4 different documentaries at one time, and they were all in different stages. Like one was in the beginning, like opening concepts, and then the last one was working on like promo and marketing. It was about to be released in like a month. So I saw every single aspect of filmmaking in one summer, and I barely made any money off of that. Living in New York is expensive. Like I probably lost money honestly that summer, but the knowledge I gained was better than anything. And then I had worked on this show called The Great Christmas Light Fight, which was a show on ABC. It still airs right now. And the episode I worked on is actually going to come out next year. But that was my first time seeing like a live production. Because, you ever watch these shows on like ABC or NBC, like that show was live. It was live to record or whatever. So like they shot it, like it was a one take when they shot it, but it doesn't come out until next year, until next Christmas. So I would like studied under the director. I like really was annoying him. He told me like, all right, chill out. Cause I was asking him like so many questions on set, and like I got to see how he handled like multiple cameras. Cause they had to have one camera shooting the talent, one shooting the audience reactions, another one shooting, what we were looking at. Like, so we had like 3-4 cameras at once, and seeing his mind work and, getting everything done at once, and seeing how many times he practiced the day before, and how he could see the vision of how the show was going to go before we actually aired things. Like that was probably those two experiences have probably been like some of my best so far.
Okay. So can you talk about some of the work that you actually like created, like in like from like start to like now, like some of your like projects that is just like you were in charge of, you directed, you shot? Can you talk about those?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. In fact, could I show my reel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could share the screen.
Yeah. Let me see, make sure it's available.
It says host disabled attendees screen sharing.
Okay, 1 second. Let me go to the settings and I'll be able to check.
Or I could send it to you. I could put it in the chat.
Oh yeah, if you put it in the chat, you can send it to me. That would probably be easier. Cause I think because we're on live, it's not allowing me to switch the setting.
Got you.
Share my screen. All right. You can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it. This is my senior year reel, so it's like everything I made in the last year or so. Yeah. So with that, yeah, that's my senior year reel that I just dropped a few months ago. And you said, you know, what it's been like working on my my own sets and everything. So everything in that video I shot, directed, with exception of one video, I shot, directed, and edited by myself, like completely. And one of them I had like other people that worked the camera for me, but I ended up only using my own footage actually still, but you got to give credit where it's due, you know? So, but that has been an experience on its own because I started my production company a little over a year ago. I've been making videos, and it's been a huge learning process. I got my first camera in February, and I've been doing a lot of commercial work, which is great and it's good, and I still do that because it pays well. But I want to get into more narrative stuff. So working on a set by myself it's usually sometimes just me, my bag with the camera and a couple lenses and my tripod. You know, that's how I first started off. And then boom, it went to, you know, now I got a gimbal, which just helps me get more motion. And now I just bought some more equipment today. I bought a new monitor. You know, I bought a computer for editing. So, and then on my last project, I actually had a cinematographer that I worked with so I had to just only direct it. And I had a production assistant too. So it's been great seeing like the progression of the things that I'm doing rather than me just, you know, just working with myself, because those videos were great, you know, and I loved it. But already as I look back at those old videos, I see like, you know, I could have done this better. I wish I had this more equipment. So I needed that time to work just by myself, you know, and get everything done by myself to see like, okay, what was I good at? What do I not like doing, you know? And I know that I love editing. I love working on framing. I love working with the artists, you know, the talent, and figuring out what they like and putting visions to life. I don't like editing too much, you know? That's not my favorite thing. I don't like the idea of buying equipment if I don't need to, you know, like things like that. So it's like I know for sure in this past year that I want to be a director. So like I want to hire people that are good at their you know, talent. I want to hire an audio guy. I want to hire a cinematographer. I want to hire PAs because I don't want to have to worry about that. So this year has been great. It's been an amazing learning experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So in this next year, I'm really about to take things to another level. I promise you.
Yeah, and I feel like you hit the nail right on the head. Like you like working with yourself, and even how you're talking about the lighting, and like how you doing lighting on set. So when you do your own things, you already know how you want things to look in the best ways that it can be, so you can have the best product at the end of the day. Yeah. So then when you're looking for people to hire, you can tell them, hey, like I want it just like this, or I want you to do that. So it's important to work by yourself and work for yourself and kind of learn and soak as much game as you can. So then when it's time for you to have other people under you, you can tell them like kind of like, oh yeah, I want this like this. I want you to do this like that. So exactly. I definitely agree on that piece. Right. Out of all the work that you have created, what has been your what was your favorite thing to work on and why?
So most recently, I would say I shot this video for Arneo, actually. Temi, he ran for COAS president. Mm-hmm. What I really liked about that video was it was the first thing that I did with basically only natural lighting, you know, and it turned out so well. And it was my first time really, those first few shots, you saw those quick little cuts and like inserts of like the tie and like the glasses, like all those shots were done with like just me telling the talent to stand in front of a mirror. It's just like I saw it in my mind and it came out just like that. And then that very last shot, which was an interview for this basketball player named Joshua Christopher, who came to Howard. He came to Howard for an official tour, and then we shot the video, we interviewed him and everything. And then just seeing like the way that one, it was cool because that was my first real time hiring people. Like I had a sound guy for the video. I had a multiple camera setup. If you look at that video, it's like two videos at once. Like one, it's like a regular plane shot of him, and then there's another side shot. I had a third camera that just like had his hands, but I didn't use any of that footage. So it was cool, like getting people to work, like, you know, work under me, and so I could really focus on directing. So those two have probably been my favorite so far.
Okay. So you talked about like buying equipment and kind of like investing in yourself. Why is that so important?
So it's important to invest in yourself because if you want to see yourself grow, that's the only way to do that is to invest in yourself, you know. Like today I just spent like a couple $100 on this monitor, right? Because I realized I've outgrown the equipment that I have right now, you know. So I don't want to buy a whole new camera right now because I don't think that's necessary, but you need a monitor. An external monitor is going to help me look at the image. It's a bigger screen than like the screen that you see on the actual, you know, on the actual camera, because that screen's like this big. The monitor is going to be a 5.5 monitor, so I can see things. I can see when things are out of focus, you know what I mean? And the last few things I've done, I've been like, okay, like I can't keep making that mistake, you know what I mean? I can't keep having that be out of focus in this point, or this footage would be so much better if I had blown it up a bit, you know, or just being able to see it clearer. So this is giving me that chance. So when you invest in yourself, you're going to get a better product. And it might put you down a little bit, but ultimately I know that like the next few things I drop are about to be amazing because, you know, I didn't have to worry about, you know, the certain things. I'm taking care of that. And every time you invest in yourself, it just helps you tenfold, you know, honestly.
What are some of the biggest obstacles that you face, like when creating these films and working with other people? What are the biggest obstacles that you face?
So I would say two, there was one video that I had worked on, and there's one video that I worked on, and I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out while I was shooting it. And luckily I saved it in my edit, but as I was shooting it, I wasn't confident in myself. And that was a lesson in itself, you know, most L's are really lessons, honestly, you know, because it shot me that I need to have a shot list. I need to know exactly what I'm shooting before I shoot it. And then just recently I got off the phone with the client today, actually. I made a music video for him, and this is my second or third music video, honestly, but it's the first one I hired other people to do it, and he didn't like the edit of it. And that was another lesson that taught me that editing isn't my strong suit either. So we agreed to get somebody else to edit it, you know, but I still shot it, you know, I still hired all these people, but me not editing it doesn't hurt me, you know. It's like we want to get the best product possible, and that means we have to get somebody else. So working with other people, you know, has been different because I've been so used to shooting, directing, editing things myself. So it's something I need to do, and I'm willing to do, but getting, you know, like being able to like share your vision with somebody else.
Right.
You know?
Do you feel like there needs to be like a level of like almost like compatibility when you're working with other people? Because like some people they have different styles of working, so like not all the time does it work together. So does there need to be compatibility?
Yeah, for sure, because filmmaking is such a collaborative effort, you know. As a director, which is what I want to be as a director, like I'm not touching the camera. You know, a lot of people don't know that the cinematographer is the one who handles all the camera and the lighting stuff. So I have to trust in my cinematographer, you know, and trust his vision and everything, in that trust him and be able to execute my vision to the fullest extent. Because as a director, I work with a talent and I oversee everything to make sure that we get the best overall picture. But being able to talk about what I want and getting them to understand my vision and buy into it, you know, that's such an important thing that people don't realize. Because but you can see when things are poorly made, you know, like you see a bad movie, it's because there's probably a lack of communication between the director and the crew, you know? Yeah. So that's very important. That's a very important thing to make sure that you get everybody understands your vision, and you display, you know, you give yourself an honest review. Like, was I able to display my vision perfectly, you know?
Okay, so going back to like growing and becoming better, like I know exposure is a big piece in like the film industry. So how do you get exposure? Like, is it through social media? Is it just trying to work on as many films as possible? How do you get that exposure that's needed to grow?
So what I've been doing recently is I made the reel, which has been an easier thing to do because, like, for me, it's been very small steps, and I'm really turning things up now. Like before, like I would send out a bunch of emails all the time, you know, like, I'm Jordan, I'm a young director, just graduated from Howard, here's all the videos I made. I'd have like a list of like all the videos, and I was like, bro, just go ahead and make a reel, you know what I mean? Instead of clicking through all the links, I could just send you the best parts of everything, you know? So sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
So like, how do you get this exposure, and what are the proper ways?
Oh yeah, so when I'm working on a PA set, right, I ask as many questions as possible. You know, I go up to the director, like I still remember his name. I know he remembers me because we had a long talk after the show had finished, after we wrapped. Like, you know, I bug the director. If I'm on set as a PA, I make sure I do my job to the best of my ability, but I'm really there to soak up as much as I can. So I'm talking to the director like anytime he's free. If he needs something, I'm doing what I need to do and I'm helping him out, you know? And then at the end, I like try and have everybody remember my name. It's as simple as, you know, when you meet somebody, you say, what's up? You say hi, a handshake, or, you know, elbows right now, like, and then you say your name because they're going to remember, like, okay, this person introduced themselves. Right. And then and then I'm receptive to things, even if it's the smallest thing, like the shoot where the director, the audio guy, and we had parked next to each other in the parking lot. So after I just, you know, struck up a little conversation after everything, and he put me on a more audio equipment that I could get for my own stuff, you know? That's stuff that you wouldn't know if you just kept your mouth closed, you know? So then, and then with that, it's like, okay, I have this, and I'm sending you my reel. I'm sending you the link to my website. You know, I'm sending you all my contact info, so at least you have it. And then I'm still at the DMs with it, like, hey, I'm a young director, how can I help out? Even if it's just being a PA, this and that. Like, just, you got to, the more people you reach out to, the more, you know, somebody's bound to help you out in some way, you know?
Yeah, that's like, I feel like just consistency and just being right. Not being afraid to talk to people and, right. and talk to people in positions that you want to be in. I feel like that's the most important. Exactly. With this coming close to an end, like, is there any last words you want to say? Like, any advice that you want to give people?
I would say take your time, you know, take your time. One thing is to not look at social media and see what other people are doing, and don't see it as, if you know you can't handle it emotionally, you know, if it's bothering you, seeing other people more successful, then you got to reevaluate, you know, what you're doing, right? And see how you can improve yourself. Because the way social media is now, like, you think, okay, I'm behind, but no, you're going at the exact pace you need to. You know, you're at the exact level you should be right now, either by your own decisions or, you know, for a lesson that you haven't learned yet, you know? So it's like, whatever you're doing, just know that you have time, you know, and don't give yourself a reason to fail if you can't, you know, like, anything that you can control, make sure you can control it, you know? Like, I've been on sets recently where I've been like, wow, I'm thankful that I have a shot list, you know? Or I'm thankful that I bought this equipment, or I had these other things, because that helped me that helped me, like get everything on point, And before there've been times when I didn't have that. So making sure you can control everything you can, and you basically iron out all the details, get everything ready. How's the weather going to be that day? How's the are we sure that this location is right? Do you have this frame in mind? You don't want to be there and look like, a fool, look like you don't know what you're doing in front of your talent. When you get on set, everything should be boom, 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 like we're ready. So I think that's been the biggest thing. And then also don't be afraid to reach out to people. Reach out, shake as many hands as you need to, because they're only going to help you out. Either you're helping them, they're helping you. Film is a collaborative effort. Reach out to as many people as you can.
Okay. Oh, we got Seneca on next. But Jordan, before we end, can you tell people where they can find you and like what you got working on next, or what you're working on next, and where they can find you?
So my next thing is you can find me on IG at Jordan Bettine, or Jordan Bettine Films, which is my film page, and then you can check me out on LinkedIn also, Jordan Bettine. YouTube, my YouTube channel, I have all my videos there, and Twitter also, Jordan Bettine. I try to keep everything the same for the most part. And then the next big thing I'm working on, other than my commercial shoots that I do with clients, is a web series. It's going to be about college life, and it's like a sitcom. It's real funny. That should come out in the next year. So yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, Jordan, for coming on. We appreciate you. Glad you were able to come through and drop a lot of knowledge and game. We appreciate you. Wish you all the best of luck in the future, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it. All right, bye.
All right. What's going on, Seneca? How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain.
Cool. Well, yeah, we just wrapped up our last speaker, Jordan Bettine. He spoke a lot about the film industry, and he just dropped a lot of gems. I'm about to pass it over to Link Social COO, Sion, and Sion is about to get it cracking with you, Seneca. Thank you for coming on, and I'll have at you after.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Darcel. Hey, Seneca, I'm Sion. Hey, everyone. So now we're going to move on to our next speaker, and Seneca Williams, who is a photographer. I'm going to do a little bit of an intro, just a little bio about you, and then you can share more. And then we have some questions that we'll go through, and we'll see where the conversation takes us.
All right, cool.
Great. So this is Seneca Williams. He's a Howard alum and photographer based out of DC. Do you have anything you want to share? Just give a little intro about who you are, where you're from, all that stuff, and then we can get started.
Gotcha. So I'm Seneca Williams. I started photography about a year ago. I was born in Huntsville, Alabama, but I was a military kid, so we kind of moved around, but majority of my life I was on the East Coast. So basically majority Virginia, Virginia Beach, Stafford, Woodbridge, and then I went to Howard University. So I've kind of been on the East Coast for majority of my life. My 9-to-5 job, I work for the Department of State. I'm a security assistant, so I just do like investigations and stuff like that. And then outside of that, I'm a photographer.
Great. So you said you've been doing photography for about a year. How have you been holding up during the pandemic and all that? So it's been, let's see, this is August, so about half of the year for you. Mm-hmm. You're working.
It's been a little more than a year. So I started in, it was February of 2019. So okay. A little bit.
Oh, that's
more.
Nice. So you hit your year mark right before things kind of started spiraling.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So how have you been holding up since March? COVID, essentially race war going on, everything going on in the world. How have you been holding up as a person, as a Black man in America, and also as a photographer? How has that affected your work?
Mm-hmm. So I would say, as a photographer, it definitely affected my work because a huge portion of my clients are students doing grad shoots, things like that. So there was a lot of concern on my part because I kind of tried to plan out my year as far as what I wanted to execute, how many shoots I wanted to do, kind of trying to build out like, what do I want to see this year as far as like goals and things like that. So with everything getting shut down, I had quite a few cancellations on shoots and stuff like that. So my initial reaction towards that on the photography side was like, oh snap, like I just lost a lot of business. And then more so on like a personal level with everything going on, it's definitely been like kind of an emotional roller coaster trying to keep motivation when, you know, you turn on the TV or, you know, looking on your Twitter feed and you're seeing all kinds of horrible things happening to people. But just trying to like keep your head and like stay motivated and stuff during those kind of times. It was definitely rough. I had to try and take some time to like recenter myself and like say, hey, like, don't let this throw you off track. Like, you know, this is happening, but we need to stay on track and keep moving at the same time. So, I mean, it was rough at first, but overall, I feel like where I am today, like I'm pretty level-headed and I feel like I'm going in the right direction. So.
That's great. That's great. So do you feel like photography has it been helpful during this time, you know, as something you like a passion you have, like, has it kind of helped you get through this time too?
I would say it affected my creativity because I really like to do kind of like more creative shoots, kind of push the limits of like what I know as photography and trying different styles and kind of creating my own look or image based on that. So it was a way to kind of keep myself busy. And then once client work started picking back up, I really started, you know, having to like, all right, look, we just gonna knock out these edits tonight. You know, you got 4 shoots tomorrow. Like you got to kind of keep everything rolling. So it definitely like it's keeping me busy, especially on the weekends. Like that's literally.
Especially now, busy is good. You know, keeping yourself distracted can be in a healthy way can be really helpful for sure. Definitely. So, okay, 2 questions for you. One, let's take one step back. What kind of photography do you do? So you mentioned you do a lot of student like photo shoots, graduations, but what kind of photography do you do versus maybe what you enjoy or your favorite kind of photography?
So I do a lot of portraiture. Honestly, I have a pretty wide spectrum of types of photos that I try to take. I would say that I'm mostly known for my portraits, but I also do real estate. I've done quite a few properties in this area. So I do a lot of real estate photos, family photos, birthday photos, again, mainly like portraiture, not really into like wildlife or nature or landscape. That's not really my thing. I like seeing people and faces and stuff like that. So that's pretty much portrait and real estate are my 2 kind of main sources.
Cool. Okay. So what got you into photography? Like what inspired you to be like, you know, I'm gonna buy a camera or I want to try this out? Like what was that thing? Was there a thing or was it kind of a compilation of things? How did that happen?
It was like a compilation of things. Growing up, I feel like my initial kind of everything that led up to me then deciding like, oh, like let me do photography was like it all kind of helped me with making this decision. But I used to be more into like video editing when I was in middle school. Like I was heavy into video editing and YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. But then I kind of lost motivation on that. And I was like, oh, well, it's cool to have. And then I started getting into graphic design. So I was using a lot of Photoshop, stuff like that. That then when I got to college, I was still doing graphic design, creating flyers and things like that. And I got a new iPhone and the camera on it was banging. So I used to just be taking pictures on my iPhone. And this was more so like my, end of my junior year, like end of junior year summer, rolling into my senior year in the fall. I was just, you know, just taking iPhone pictures and stuff like that. And a friend of mine, I went to South Africa in December and I was taking a bunch of photos. I bought little iPhone lenses and everything. I was like, oh, I'm going to be the best iPhone photographer ever. And then when I went to South Africa and I was taking everybody's pictures and everybody was like, oh yeah, take these pictures. And again, I'm just using my iPhone. So I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then someone was like, why don't you just buy an actual camera? And I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. Like I'm going to do that. So that's what I did in February. I went out, bought a camera, and then just been up since there. So
Okay. What kind of camera do you have for our photographers watching and videographers? You know, they know those. I don't know those things, but those matter. I know those things matter. So.
So I shoot on a mirrorless Canon, the Canon EOS R.
Okay.
So that's that's not the camera I started with. I started with a Canon M50, which is a crop sensor mirrorless camera. And then I used that up until the end of that summer. I sold it and then bought the EOS R once I realized like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do.
That's a way nicer camera, right? As you build your clientele, all that and your skills. Oh, okay, that's really cool. Nice. So how have you been balancing doing photography? And you said you also have a full-time job as a security assistant. So how has juggling that been, regardless of COVID, kind of balancing, you know, full-time job and then freelance work?
So I would say my schedule is basically Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, I'm at work. And then weekends, I do my shoots. And then from like 6 to 12, Monday through Friday, I'm editing the photos from the shoot before. So that's kind of like what my rhythm has been. So I, you know, go to work, I leave my work at work. I don't think about work outside of when I get home. Like I leave all of that there. And then when I get home, it's straight to editing. And my goal is always to finish all the edits for the shoots from that weekend during the week before the next weekend, because I know I'm going to get even more and I don't want to get like a backlog. So it's actually a very, it works for me. Some people, I feel like some people like to watch like Netflix and TV and stuff like that. I literally don't turn on my TV. I really enjoy editing photos. It's kind of weird, but like,
I mean, it's productive, right? And that's what you love. That's what you love. You do it.
Exactly.
So is the long-term goal to eventually quit your 9 to 5 and be a photographer full time, or do you want to do other things in the creative space as well?
I do want to do other things in the creative space, but I'm still kind of indecisive as to exactly where I want to go with it. But I'm kind of just like, all right, well, let's see where this takes us and kind of see what other opportunities kind of come from this. So right now, obviously the stability of my 9 to 5 is, you know, keeping me afloat too. But the photo shoots and everything like that are definitely helping as well. But in the long run, if I can, then I would love to, you know, go full time with photography, and then, you know, again, just seeing kind of where it takes me from there. But that's the plan as of now. It's just kind of see what opportunities arise from it.
Definitely, that's amazing. That's really cool. So a lot of the work you do is like your photography. A lot of your photography is, you said portraiture. That's what it's called, right? Taking pictures of people. So, so you deal with a lot of people. What is kind of the biggest obstacle you face as a photographer working with so many different kinds of people, especially when most of your work is of people, like your pictures?
Right. I would say professionalism is probably going to be your best friend when it comes to dealing with people. Because if you want to try and just keep a constant with all the different people that are always going to be, you know, you're going to be interacting with. So professionalism is definitely like my biggest thing. It's like, look, you know, I'm going to send you your invoice, your booking confirmation. I'm going to follow up with you the day before your shoot. When you get there, I have my terms and conditions that you agreed to before. Like I make sure everything is, you know, outlined so there's no confusion, or as much as I can, basically. Right. So we've kind of already discussed any issues that might arise. We kind of already have an outline or like a standard operating procedure. If this happens, this is where we go from there. That's kind of how I've been able to just manage dealing with different people. But I mean, there's so many different aspects of dealing with people. You can look at it from the, you know, getting a client and getting them into like, okay, what services do you provide? You can look at the aspect of actually taking their pictures and them being on set with you. So those interactions kind of vary based on who you have, but generally speaking, some rule of thumb for anybody who's interested in this field, I would always say, try and be like as energetic, as happy as possible when you're doing shoots. And another little helpful tip that I learned is, even if you're taking photos and you look at the back of your camera and you're like, oh snap, like these don't really look good, you can't say that. Do not say that. Don't look at the camera and be like, oh, these look bad. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people already have maybe some insecurities, or they haven't been in front of the camera like that, or it's just, you want to make them feel as comfortable as possible. So giving them feedback, telling them what looks good, giving them that positive energy usually lets them kind of like open up and feel more comfortable. And that shows in the pictures. So I always, I'm always gassing my clients like, yes, like, let's do it. This looks perfect. It's amazing. Like, you got to let them know, because they can't see what you see. So that's another little helpful tidbit.
Good gems. Those are good gems, definitely. And I would agree. If you think about it, like, even when your friends take pictures of you, like, it's when they gas you up, when they make you feel good, that you're like, oh, okay, these pictures turn out good, great. Like, I feel good. Like, then you pose more, you're more comfortable, especially when you can sense when people are tense in front of a camera, in a picture. So I imagine that, like, you need the photographer to make you feel comfortable so that you can, kind of feel comfortable in front of the camera. No, that's
exactly
really good advice, for sure. So on that same note, so it's kind of those words of advice. Do you feel like social media has really helped you in building your brand and really getting more clientele, diversifying your clients?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, social media is probably like my biggest marketing thing that I have right now. I do emails, but I know the day and age we live in, not everybody's checking the email. Most people are just scrolling past it. Or at least that's what I do. But yeah, social media is literally my biggest kind of marketing aspect. So I just make sure that I'm trying to communicate with people on a regular basis and providing them with engaging content.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Do you feel like social media is enough, or do you feel like there are maybe other ways that you wish you could get exposure and kind of like get your name out there? Like, yeah, like how have you thought about that, or kind of wish that there are ways you could get more exposure? Are there spaces where photographers can go to like build their brand outside of social media? Do those spaces exist? Do you know about that?
I would say, I mean, there's always, different like events and things like that you can attend, workshops, things like that, where you can meet with other photographers, or, someone who you can learn from as far as like a mentor.
Right.
But I mean, outside with COVID-19 going on, all of that stuff is shut down. There's tons of resources online where the photography community is pretty broad, and most people, I'm gonna say most, are obviously willing to like, help you out if you have any questions or anything like that. But as far as like on the exposure aspect, I would love to be able to like tag along with like a photographer that works for a magazine, or just has more experience in that field, just so I can know what that feels like, know what that setting looks like, know how I can kind of gear myself in that direction, so I can see like, okay, is this the direction I want to go? But outside of reaching out to people via email or social media, unless you know somebody, you're kind of limited. You know what I'm saying? So social media is probably your best bet.
Yeah, that's real. And that's tough too, because it's like, regardless of COVID, I feel like photographers, like if they're well known and if you do the right research, that's when you kind of find them in the right places, and maybe they'll take you under their wing. But especially like as fast paced as media is in entertainment and photography and videography, I'm sure they're just so busy. The more well known you are, the busier you are, the harder it is to like take people under your wing. And that mentorship is really valuable, I feel like, in every industry. Like just being with people who have been in the game longer teaches you a lot of things you might not have known otherwise. Definitely. Do you feel like so as a Black man who's a photographer, how do you feel like that's impacted your experience in the industry? As photography, I'm sure, is predominantly white, or not Black, not predominantly non-Black. So how has that impacted your experience? Whether it be like building your brand, getting exposure, getting clients, that kind of stuff.
I would say that because of the kind of market that I'm in and the area that I'm in, most of my photography skills and things like that kind of gear themselves towards Black people. So I haven't necessarily had any opportunities where it was like, oh, I didn't get that because I feel like I'm Black, because most of the people that I shoot are Black, or most of the people that book me are Black. And it's not that I have something against anybody else. It's just like, that's what I kind of have the most access to. And especially again, with social media and the people that already knew me from before, my network at Howard, majority of these people are Black. So that's kind of what I geared myself towards. But I will say within that community, I think a pretty big challenge for some people would, or well, at least for being a man in this space, is working with women that are your clients and things like that. You need to make sure that you are presenting, one, you're professional, and two, you're providing a space that's comfortable for them, because there's a lot of kind of things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in this day and age right now, that's, you know, like I said, you just get on Instagram, you'll see a bunch of stuff. But I feel like there's definitely a lot of tension between, you know, men and women. So you, as a photographer, you need to make sure that you're providing a space that's comfortable for women, especially, again, a majority of the people that I shoot are women. So that's probably like my biggest thing. I'm always trying to make sure that they feel safe. You know, again, professionalism is huge, and just always trying to create an environment that is conducive for, you know, providing a high quality product.
Definitely. Do you feel like, have you, you know, like when you talk to your client, I mean, if you talk to them about kind of like the other photography experiences they've had, or if you speak with other photographers, do you guys kind of have like ways that you manage making sure that you're creating comfortable spaces for your clients? You know, you mentioned professionalism, but like, what does it mean to create a safe space for a client when you're doing a shoot? You know, like I see you have camera equipment behind you, so you have equipment in your home, you know, like how do you make sure that women feel comfortable coming into your home and doing a photo shoot in your house, you know, like things like that?
Right. So with this, I basically, I always give an option. I tell them like, I do have a studio space that's available to me that's inside of a residence, that I allow my clients to shoot in without an additional charge. That's like outside of what their package provides. But I also provide them, if you would like, we can go to another studio. I provide them with options. And those are usually about like $100 for 2 hours or something like that. So I always give them the option as far as this goes, like, hey, I know that I'm aware that there may be some kind of tension, like, oh, I don't want to go to anybody's place of living or anything like that. I actually don't live here. I just kind of rent out this space on the weekends, but it is an apartment. And then I say, we also have another option here that's available. So I give them both options in that kind of instance. But I think a huge thing is just watching your words. You know, there's certain trigger words you don't really want to say, things that you just kind of want to stay away from, and just watching your tone and things like that when you're speaking with people, just to make sure that like, hey, like, look, strictly professional. There's nothing else that's going on here. And I always say, like, if there's anything that makes you uncomfortable, let me know. Everything stops. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I do that. And I also always encourage them, like, hey, bring a friend. I changed that during COVID-19 for the studio sessions and stuff like that. But the outdoor shoots, things like that, I always say, hey, like, feel free, bring a friend or a couple of friends with you. So again, because that helps them with, oh, like, this is a person I know, especially if this is somebody that has only, you know, seen my work on social media and then just went on my website and booked me. So I'm always all for it. Bring your friends, bring your family. I have moms, dads, all kinds of stuff like that come along on the shoots as well.
Yeah, lots of family. That's dope though. I think that's really important. And especially as more people go into photography and videography, you know, really creative spaces as freelancers, you know, and now it's like, you don't have to work for an agency or be like a formal photographer. You can kind of build those skills on your own. I think it's really important for us to remember, how do you create welcoming, safe spaces for your clients, you know, because now there's less kind of structure around, you know, booking someone for a photo shoot, you know, whereas before maybe you had to go through very, very traditional channels, you know? Right. So it's like, because that exists, you have to be really intentional about, you know, how you engage with your clients. I think that's really important. Yeah, I like that. That's dope. So, okay. So let's shift gears a little bit back to kind of how you got into photography. What did you study in undergrad? And, you know, like, how did that impact whether, you know, your skills in photography? Did it help you build your skills in photography?
Not at all. I studied political science. So
definitely different. That's cool, but different.
Yeah, different. I would say, I mean, the political science degree may have helped me with my 9-to-5 job in that field. But as far as what it did for me in photography, besides, you know, being able to write well, speak well, and that's probably just about it.
That's real. But I would say, I feel like, at least my understanding of, granted, I studied engineering, but my understanding of political science is that like you also really understand people though. So I feel like that would help you in kind of what we were just talking about, like creating safe spaces for your clients and really making sure you understand the environment you're creating as kind of like the owner of that, you know, that space as the photographer. So you went to Howard, you studied political science. How do you feel like going to an HBCU has impacted what you're doing now? And if your degree didn't do that as much, you know, how has Howard, you know, being a Howard alum, learning and growing in an HBCU? I went to PWI, so I know they're very different experiences, but how did that really, you know, like, did it kind of, you know, uplift your career in photography? And, you know, if so, how?
Definitely. I would say the HBCU experience definitely boosted my confidence and kind of making me, putting me in a space around other people that look like me that are doing great things and really seeing like what was possible. There were other photographers on campus as well, but kind of looking around and seeing, you know, there's people with clothing brands, there's people that graphic design, like the whole campus, everybody's a freelancer almost that has some specialty, whether it's hair or, you know, like I said, clothing, all kinds of different things like that. And just being in that kind of entrepreneurial space definitely encouraged me to be like, you know what, like I'm going to take this step in moving towards this. Whereas I feel like maybe in some other spaces, I wouldn't have had that much confidence in myself, because at the same time, I'm like, all right, I'm going to build this photography brand. My roommate is building another brand, and it's just like we're bouncing ideas off of each other and really being able to build something, and we're all kind of going through that entrepreneurial journey. So I definitely feel like that helped a ton because, you know, seeing other people do it was what made me say, you know what, I can definitely do this. Like, I know these people that are around me, I know how they carry themselves, I know, you know, a lot of the things that they know. This is definitely something that I can achieve if I just put in the work, put in the time, and then, you know, good things will come from it. So
yeah, I feel that definitely. I think going to a PWI, I think, you know, even in the communities that, you know, we like Black and Brown students built like on our campus, even in those spaces, it's like being surrounded by like-minded people who look like you and really motivate you, and you see them doing amazing things. It inspires you to do amazing work as well, because you're like, it's not even a competition, it's more like, well, I'm around excellence, so now I want to be excellent, you know, like that's, you start to embody, you know. It's really, I can't imagine. I'm like, oh man, I of course dreamt about going to HBCU, couldn't afford it, all across the country. I'm from Seattle, so it's just like, can't, you know, it was too big for me, you know, like too big of a leap. But just thinking about like anytime I would meet someone who went to an HBCU and talk about their experience, it was always just like, wow, like I can't imagine being surrounded by that. It sounds so inspiring, so motivating, you know, it makes you want to be the best version of yourself. So that's really dope. That's dope. Okay, so what opportunities do you feel like Howard provided you with as a photographer? Or do you feel like you were able to get opportunities as a photographer at Howard, even though it sounds like you, I mean, I don't know when you graduated, but you might have started really taking photography seriously after you graduated. So do you feel like you were able to get opportunities?
I was definitely able to kind of reap some of the benefits after the fact. So I in February, I picked up my camera, and that May I graduated. So I kind of had a short run as far as like while I was in school, but after the fact, I mean, the people that knew me that were graduating from the years after that, and then other people that were just referring me to other like companies. Like I got to shoot the 21 Bridges screening with Chadwick Boseman backstage, the whole nine, shooting all his pictures. And that came as an opportunity from Miss Howard at the time, who was like, oh, I know this great photographer, he can come in. And the photos were with HBCU Buzz. But there's a bunch of different kind of things that came as a result of keeping in contact with people and then just having that network. So I always kind of think like, man, if I would have started doing this my freshman year, like, oh man, it would be crazy. But nonetheless, you know, we got started a little bit later, but I think that I'm still very happy with the way things are going, and hopefully they continue to grow from there.
That's real. Better late than never, right? So you got started. That's what matters. That's so true. Yeah. I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you feel like has been the biggest hurdle, kind of obstacle you've had to overcome, just overall, like whether it be like learning, the different skills of being a photographer, finding your niche, building, maybe it's more on the business side, marketing, things like that. What do you feel like has been like the biggest challenge you've had to overcome as you're building your photography career?
Outside of the things I said earlier, I'll definitely say comparing yourself to other people is definitely a little bit of a challenge for me, because I started out with the mindset of like looking at other people's work and saying, okay, how can I do that? And kind of, there was a couple of shoots, collaborative shoots that I did early on where I was like, I'm gonna replicate this exact image and try and basically match their quality, match their editing, and literally do exactly what they did just to see, can I do this? And that's kind of what I would do to kind of get a feel for like, okay, this level of quality, I'm gonna figure this out, test around, shooting pictures of myself first before I get in front of the person that I'm shooting, to kind of try and build that. So that was my first initial, and I feel like that's what kind of spiked my growth kind of quickly. I was able to kind of really improve my quality and my level of skills. But on the back end, if you keep comparing your work to other people, like it eats away at you very quickly. So, and again, social media, you're just like, I'll post something and then I'll scroll down and be like, wow, like this is a banger. Like I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of this? Or like, this is so much better than what I just posted. Or like, what's in my portfolio? So trying to make sure that you keep yourself centered and use it as motivation and not like to degrade your work. That's definitely a challenge to just like snap out of that, like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm gonna get that on the next shoot, or I'm gonna keep improving from there. But like, don't trying not to make sure that I don't like kill my own mojo, kill my own motivation. So that's definitely like another challenge.
Yeah, I like that. What's crazy is one of our previous speakers, she was also kind of talking about that. Rebecca, she's a content creator and a blogger, and she was talking about like something she really makes an effort to do is not close any doors on herself. So like not getting so caught up in like whether it's comparing or feeling like you're not good enough or feeling invalidated, whatever it is, and like insecure and all that. It's like, okay, I'm gonna allow, if there are any doors that will be closed on me, someone else is gonna do that. I will never be the person to shut myself down or say I'm not good enough, or I might as well just not do this anymore. Clearly I'm not gonna be as good as the post I just saw that was way better than what I did, like all those things. It's like, we really have to, especially as creatives, people, young Black millennials in these spaces, like we really have to make sure that we're not, shutting ourselves down before we get a chance to really shine. So I really like that. Yeah, I think that's a recurring theme, and it's definitely important. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. Okay. So before we wrap up, I want to ask you two more questions. One, what's a book or podcast you're listening to or reading right now that you want to share for fellow photographers or any viewers right now?
I honestly, I'm not a huge podcast person. I'm big on like YouTube as far as like YouTube University. That's kind of my go-to for like learning stuff or like kind of getting more information on stuff. But I also will say I don't know if they have a podcast, but Flern it's an organization. Well, I guess it's a guy, but he has an organization.
Flern, F-L-E-R-N.
It's P-H-L-E-A-R-N. And it's basically teaching and telling you about the Adobe Creative Suite and how to use those programs, like, to edit photos and stuff like that, to walk you through like what that process looks like. But that's pretty much, other than that, like I listen to music and just try and absorb as much information.
P-H-L-E-R-N. Yeah, that's what Seneca's recommending for all of us. Cool, got it. All right, so before we wrap up, okay, we have a minute. Where can people find you and you and your work, and what can we expect from you?
So everybody can find me on Instagram at byseneca, BYSENECA. My website is www.byseneca.com. My portfolio's on there. As far as what you guys can expect next from me is just more great things. I'm really just trying to, again, I'm still in the process of really creating what my images look like. I really want people to make sure that when they see a photo, there's no watermark. They don't have to look at the caption and say, oh, who shot this? I want people to look at my work and it to kind of stand for itself and people like, oh, Seneca shot this. I know that. Yeah. Like you can tell by that stylistic approach, but that's kind of more so what you guys can expect from me is just more great things and, you know, just bigger and better things, of course.
Amazing. Well, we're looking forward to it. Definitely gonna follow you on Instagram. Might have to book you for a shoot when I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah. No.
All right. Thanks so much, Seneca. It was nice to meet you.
No problem. Good one. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Bye. All right, everyone. That was Seneca Williams. Thanks so much, Seneca, again for talking about your journey in photography. That was amazing. I think he dropped some really good gems, and I'm gonna look up Flurn so I can become a master at Adobe Creative Suite. I don't know about you, Darcel. I did not know that there was a whole website that you could learn all the tips and tricks. So
this is why we have LinkedIn, so you can learn from a variety of creatives and have them share their stories. If you guys are in the DMV area, please check out By Seneca. Check out everybody that's been on here so far. We've had a lot of people. Everybody's social media is on our Instagram and Twitter at Blink Social, at the Blink Social. We got one more speaker coming up. But yeah, today has been really great thus far as a lot of good conversations, just a lot of great dialogue. And yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button.
Subscribe.
At Blink Social on Instagram, The Blink Social on Twitter. Subscribe to our zine, theblinkssocial.com. You don't want to miss out.
Yep. Okay. Our last speaker of the day is Lloyd Marshall.
Last but not least.
See if Lloyd is on. Lloyd, if you are on.
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna let Darcel, our CEO and founder, take it from here.
All right, cool. Thank you, CEO. All right. For our last speaker of the day, we got Lloyd Marshall Jr. Lloyd is a great friend of mine. Another Howard University alum. Lloyd has founded 2 companies, Level Soul and Directory Noir. Lloyd, you want to say that for me?
Well, I did, yeah. Directory Noir and Level Soul.
All right. So, Lloyd, do you want to tell us about those 2 companies, your roles you play in those, and yeah, we got you started in those?
Well, I guess I'll break off with a little intro. First off, my name is Lloyd Marshall Jr. As Darcel said, we are great friends. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm also a December 2019 graduate of the Howard University. I am the co-founder and co-CEO of Directory Noir, which is a Black business directory catered to the overall uplift of Black America, as well as Level Soul. We are a holistic well-being business promoted to the uplift of the mind, body, and spirit.
Okay. So Lloyd, what got you started in both of these organizations, companies? What got you started in them? Why did you feel like they were needed? And yeah, what was the process in starting them?
I would say, well, I guess I got to, go back and forth between the two, but I'll start off by Level Soul. Level Soul came between my 2 LBs, Jamal and Eli, who are also the co-founders and co-CEOs, but it came about more so wanting just matriculation throughout life, coming to the realization that the mind, body, and spirit are all 3 different entities that you need to most definitely make sure that you're feeding healthy information and positive energy, but more so having the outlook on if you don't incorporate those equally and allow them to grow equally, they won't be as that much effective to your life. Just wanting to provide a service to the people, always wanting to do good, as cliche as that sounds. More so how that leads into Directory Noir, because Directory Noir came after Level Soul. Directory Noir came more so having the aspiration of designing a I guess, an ecosystem for all Black coaches and Black communities to, especially the Black entrepreneurs that we have in America today, just have a central just pool where they all can thrive, like essentially a hub where you can always go to, okay, if I want to have a quality product or have a product that's been made with love, to go to that central area.
Okay, so talking about Level Soul, and with the mind, body, and soul being the key elements that you guys focus on, what are some things that people can do to, I guess, better those elements, those key elements?
And I feel like that's the real key to it. When defining one person's mind, body, and spirit's health-wise, I feel like that always depends on the person. At Level Soul, I say that we try to strive to not make it say that our way is the best way. We try to provide different avenues and different paths, and especially bridges to all of our consumers and our just every people who want to have a better mind, body, and spirit to their life. Essentially, just give them different methods that might work for them. I would say there's no specific blueprint or just okay, if you go this, you're just gonna be living good mentally, spiritually, and physically. I would say what we do to help is we give you workouts. We give you all natural products if you don't want to have something that goes under the industry so refined. And we also provide with scriptures, daily readings, methods, even water, which you can put in your water just to make sure that you are doing something, that you're putting something into your body in a positive manner. We're just giving all different types of methods to live a better life in those three aspects and help them grow exponentially at the same rate.
Okay. With Director Noir, how have you guys been able to kind of build this ecosystem of Black businesses?
Okay, that's a good question, because I say I can relate that back to matriculation at Howard University. As you can attest to this, Darcel, being at Howard, you're surrounded by entrepreneurs everywhere. Got persons that doing their music, that women doing cosmetics. You have people that are just in all different types, and it's all surrounded by this Black excellence. I'll say more so providing them an outlet so they can get started at least. Right. I'll say getting them started, I'll say, is just that invaluable price that you get from helping a young business just get up. That's more so where I say that's where all the Direct Noir came from. And essentially how we branch it out, we promote restaurants, Black-owned restaurants, Black-owned care products, music. Anything that you think of that is Black-owned, we try to promote that in the best highlighted and best light possible.
Okay, so what kind of has been some inspiration for you to want to start these things? Because it's just it's not an easy role to be a co-founder. So and it's definitely not an easy task to accomplish these goals that you may have. So what kind of has been inspiration and kept you going through these things?
I would say, as far as inspiration wise, I would just say my circle that surrounds me, the co-founders, friends, my LBs, my friends and family, just hearing that say that, oh wow, you're making a directory for all Black businesses. This is what we need, especially in times like this that we have going around, police brutality, just the attacks on the Black community. Just giving some portion of uplift for our Black community is essentially what I guess is driving me. Grant Jordan, who is also a co-founder of Direct Noir, who is always also on this podcast, and Jamal and Eli. I guess that's just what drives us, just giving people the new thing of faith. I would say that, as far as just giving something people to look forward to, just keeping people excited. That's why I'll say just really drives us. It's not really, I'll say, a monetary aspiration, because I do feel Anything done for money specifically and solely, even though that's all what it encompasses, doesn't really last long as far as like the happiness behind it. Right. So just keeping that faith and, you know, making sure that I'm providing the outlet for, who knows, we might promote another rapper that's coming up with pros music. He might be the next Drake. Just saying that we just have that, we can be that it factor in somebody's life. I'll say that's the inspiration behind all of our products, even Level Soul and Director Noir, just what we're giving to the public.
Yeah, and something that you touched on that I hold dearly to me is just really the money aspect of it, because a lot of times people do things for the money, and like they're chasing a dollar, and like especially when you're starting something off, like it's hard to really have that consistent flow, or you cut a lot of corners and you miss a lot of building blocks. So I feel like it's important when you're doing something to really do something that you really believe in and you really love and enjoy, because oftentimes that there may not be initial like monetary value that you'll get early. Like the money's gonna come. Like I always say that the money's gonna come, but like you gotta have that value. You gotta build that structure, that foundation, and then you can grow on it. So I definitely agree with that. You spoke about kind of like police brutality and social injustices that's going on. How has that, along with COVID-19, how has that affected you over the past couple months?
I would say, well, especially COVID, and it's actually kind of, I guess, not surreal, but it's kind of weird saying that it took a virus for me to really tap into myself. But like having a virus, being in the midst of a worldwide pandemic, and just like having to seclude yourself off of your safety health-wise, it taps you into yourself. Because you have to find something else to entertain you. Not saying because you don't want to be on the PS4 all day. You don't want to be on Twitter, social media, because I personally feel too much social media is essentially toxic in a sense. Just being in a situation where you essentially have to separate yourself not only from your friends, sometimes your family, even people that you hang out with every day, is just kind of just, I guess, a learning moment, because you have to learn into different parts of life that are going to help you through. And the viruses essentially helped me with my patience, for real. There's patience with anything, patience with businesses, patience with work outside of this. Police brutality, as far as police brutality and attacks on the Black community, I would just see where this all has to go. But this is the time that we need to stick together, if anything. I'll say that's kind of like when I said that was the inspiration behind Directory Noir, providing a sense of promotion within. I feel like that is essentially what we try to do. Not so much promote from outside. When I say outside, most definitely, I'm mostly referencing different cultures. Just promoting within. I feel like that provides a sense of being more organic. That organic feeling to the product, to the service that you're providing to that person, that is coming from someone just like you with similar experience and something like that. I'll say that is essentially like behind it. Now that I see that all this attacks on the Black community, we have to stick stronger, and then not only stay stronger, we have to promote ourselves to overcome these obstacles that we are now faced with.
Okay, so you talk about like sticking together and like coming together, and especially among like Black culture and just Black people in general. How do you recommend that we overcome some of like the typical stereotypes that we oftentimes hear about and we see? Like, for instance, like a lot of people say, oh, Black businesses are unprofessional, so I won't support them. Or you will see a lot of people being in competition with each other. Like, how do you think we can overcome those things?
I feel like that's more so that's a solution that's always, I'm trying to think of the word, that's always changing in a sense. how we overcome these stereotypes is, I guess, what I would like. My father always told me is actions speak louder than words, as the common phrase that everyone knows. We have to show people that this stereotypical phrase of Black businesses aren't professional is a lie. It's a lie and it's not true. We can be just as professional as a white counterpart, or different culture counterparts. But how we break these stereotypes, I'll say simply, it's just putting, your words into action, and proving it. And when we do promote ourselves in a positive light, we need to blow it out of the water. Make sure that, okay, this Black business is just as professional as Apple or Microsoft or stuff like that. It's just when we see a Black business promoting themselves in a professional manner, in the sense of that is just as good as him or him, we need to take that and just keep going with it. I'll say we need to highlight all of our goals rather than going on all the negatives. Because I feel like it's a point where stereotypes might be, I feel like some stereotypes always come from, some, like if they're talking about a different group, there's some part in that group that there's some people that I guess go with it. They come complacent with it. They let those words become what they are. I'll say that if we try to take those people and show them that you can be better than this, I feel like everything else will fall in place. Kind of more.
Makes sense. Okay, yeah, I definitely agree with you. Just kind of like having that action in place and actually doing it, not really just talking about it. Because oftentimes a lot of people just say things, but then they don't follow the action. So just having that action and then providing good examples, and I think it's important for business owners too, like be diligent in their work, to respond to emails in a timely manner, to have a professional website, to really just run things professionally. It's not, I don't even, like a lot of people is like, oh, you need to run your business like a white business. No, you need to just run your business professionally. Like, I feel like that's something that a lot of people miss out on. And it's just like, as business owners, you got to show proper examples. So then other people who are maybe thinking about starting, they see other people that look like them doing it, so they have the standard that they want to, that they need to live up to, or that they see they have an example. So I definitely agree with you on that aspect.
I feel like you just said it perfectly when you said we have to lead by example instead of saying this and that. I feel like the perfect way to, I guess, phrase and answer for your question was we just have to lead by example if we want to actually see something change.
Yeah. This question is more so like on behind the scenes things. With being a co-founder, how important is it, or with being a co-founder, how do you effectively work with your other founders, like without there being like a mixture of egos, without there being too much arguing? Like what are some things you deal with that?
I would say, so with being a co-founder and co-CEO, you do run into, I guess, button heads, especially when you have an idea of, oh, I feel like this should be this way. I feel like it should be this color. I feel like the product should this way, or this. I feel like it's more so definitely just communication is key. Communication, knowing how to swallow your pride and take that your solution wasn't the best, as well as just being honest with each other and just having that area where every party that is essentially has a main voice in the decision making feels comfortable to express what they have with nobody taking it personal. I feel like taking things personal would essentially ruin a business. One wrong word can throw someone the wrong way. Checking in with people, but I'll say the main part about being a co-founder is you have to be considering. You just have to be understanding that whatever you do is not the best option all the time. You might have an ideal, but I say when it comes to decision making as a co-founder, you need to most definitely make sure that you're taking and incorporating everybody's ideas before making that final decision. Because it might not be your idea is the best. It might be your idea with Grant's pieces and stuff like that, and I need to incorporate that into my idea to make it a better one, because I know mine is not the best. But I'll say communication, with Director Noir and Level Soul, we both have chats where we can just, okay, I have this idea. This product needs a little bit more argan oil or something like that, or let's promote this business on Friday at 12. It's just communication. Make sure that you're putting everything that you have and don't bottle anything in. If you feel as if something should have went better that way, and after an event or just when everything happens in your business, come back and talk about it. How do you feel that this could have worked out better? Do you feel if we did this, it would have had a better turnout, or we would have sold better, or people would have attracted to this business better this way? I'll just say communication is probably the main part to any business, but especially being a co-founder, especially when you have such a high influence on a business, you need to make sure that your communication is there, and you need to be have a relationship with those people that you establish it with, that I can say something to you and you not take it personal. It's not about you. It's about the better being of the business and everything that we do. It's not about, oh, you owe me $5 from next week. I'm not, like that. It's everything that we do is for the betterment of our business. Right? Everybody else, it's not about us anymore at this point. It's about what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, I feel like that's important. Is really just like what you touched on. The key things is like really communication, because oftentimes a lot of people, they won't communicate how they're feeling, and I even have this with Blink Social. Like, it's just like oftentimes a lot of problems that we have is just like fixed with communication. Because a lot of times if you don't know that you're doing something wrong, if you're not willing to listen, you're not gonna be able to come to a common ground and figure that out. So I definitely agree with that. Taking a step in a different direction, you're a graduate of Howard University. Okay, cool. You want to wait for a second. All right. Being a graduate of Howard University, did that prepare you for what you're doing now?
As you can attest to this, Seneca, Jordan, everybody who's a Howard alum, I feel like we all have the same unanimous phrase when they talk about your matriculation at Howard. It's a love-hate relationship, because you're going to experience just complete, messed up stuff. But I would say being at Howard, people call it the Mecca, Black Harvard. Just being surrounded by everything, I would say that it's prepared me for the worst possible circumstance when it comes to this outside world, especially when it comes to just things that have just don't really need to happen. The aid building, financial aid, I'm sure with any school is a problem, but if you ask anyone that went to Howard, they feel that everything that happens at Howard is to an extreme, or dialed up by 10 for some apparent reason. I really don't know. But I'll say being at Howard has showed me that you can do anything if you put your head down and have that tunnel vision. I'll say you've been surrounded, like we said before, music, cosmetic, clothing lines, everything. It's just everything at Howard. Everyone's trying to do something. You're surrounded by something, and you always keep driving. That's why I say most thing at being at HBCU, and I say this to this day, if I didn't go to Howard or an HBCU, I don't know where I would be right now in life. And I don't know, that's probably just something that me and another person from an HBCU or the same school would understand. But going to an HBCU saved my life, in the sense that it showed me how life really works. And it showed me how to grind, and being around people that want to grind too. You got to surround yourself with that right circle. But going to HBCU most definitely saved my life, in the sense that it showed me if I want to get something, I got to grind for it. Even though I already had those already, prerequisites for life, that just showed me that I need that it's more of an extreme. That's what I probably would say.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. Like anywhere you go, like you're gonna deal with just like some unnecessary stuff. You're gonna just deal with struggles and everything. But like just being at Howard, like it just really teaches you how to really grind and get it. And you meet so many. yeah, you meet so many like-minded people, like, and then you meet people that are lifelong friends that you're gonna really grow with for years to come. As a lot of people that go to different colleges, like I mean, even at Howard, like of course, there's going to be people that you grow apart from, but there is a lot more people that I feel like you stay connected with over years, just because you guys you really go through a lot with each other at Howard and at HBCUs in general. I'm a big advocate of just like black folks in general just going to HBCUs, because you just get a different type of experience, and especially in those 4 to 5 years that most people in college, you just experience something that's truly amazing. So as we got about 10 minutes left, can you tell us like what things we can expect going forward with Level Soul and Director Enora?
I'm really excited, man. I'll just say this is just the beginning. Both businesses are less than a year old. So I'm real excited to just keep pushing forward with the new products, just with new workouts, new videos. We ain't all the way up like Blink Social yet, but we getting there. It's soon to come. But workouts, products, just everything we have just to promote people's new collabs. Just everything with that. As far as Director Noir, I'll say we got there's a lot of stuff in store for that. I'll say just new interactive ways to get with our with the community, new just branching off into new things, new news informing stuff. It's just a lot of things that I'll say is coming in. Now I don't want to give it too much, but I just want to give it just enough, keep the people waiting. But a lot of good things are coming both from Director Noir and Level Soul. And I would just say, just wait on.
Okay. With building these businesses, like I know firsthand, like you always have to be learning. Is there any resources that you use, or like any books, podcasts that you listen to, read, that like help you grow and learn?
I would say a lot of things what you got to do to at least make service or product better. You got to look at all the people who already done it. Me, Maul, Eli, Grant, and Jordan, we all this podcast that I listen personally is Earn Your Leisure on Instagram. I'm pretty sure you heard about it. Just what they be talking about, just and everything that even helps me with my regular 9-to-5 job, just about how they talk about just taking over the world and all the money. But I'll say what we try to do is try to branch out of stuff that, especially with Level Soul, trying to encompass the holistic well-being of the mind, body, and spirit. There's a lot of things that essentially work for just that one entity, especially with obviously the body is probably going to be working out. Looking at people who have their own fitness businesses and stuff like that. People for the mind, for the spirit and mind, is more so looking at people who are heavy into meditation, who are heavy into what their inner self. Just branching out to them, seeing how they do it, getting their methods. I would say just branching out to who's somebody who's already done it or might have done it better than you. I say that's what you essentially got to come back, and you have to be humble enough to reach out and say, you're doing this better than me. I'm trying to get to where you're trying to go. Teach me. So I would say there's no specific one, but a podcast that I do listen to is Earn Your Leisure. And I say I just branch out to everyone who's already in the industry, as I am as well.
Yeah, Earn Your Leisure. I'm definitely a big fan of that one, of that podcast. Like you said, they be dropping gems on there. So if anybody has to Earn Your Leisure, go check them out. They're definitely
check that out.
Yeah, and like I know another one that's kind of similar to Earn Your Leisure is called Black Wealth Renaissance. That's another good one. And shoot, maybe I might come up with a list of all these different ones, because there's so many gems that
they just be profitable.
Yeah, and I feel like it's important, like as a business owner, that you need to like be listening to things on a daily. You need reading different articles and whatever, and just learning how to level, because if you're just like stagnant in your growth, and ultimately it's trial and error too. It's just like trying new things, like, and a lot of times like people expect things to be perfect, but you have to kind of try things out and figure it out. So yeah, I'm definitely glad you brought up Earn Your Leisure. what advice would you give somebody that that's coming after you, like to start a business or just in life general? What advice would you give them?
I would say the best piece of it, like I say phrase, like 2 phrases I just tell myself every day to just keep it motivated. 1, keep grinding so you no longer have to introduce yourself when you walk into a room. And the second one is you ain't never had to teach a dog how to eat. You just always got to get it out the mud. But I would say the best piece of advice I can say to anyone who's trying to get it or just worrying about life is to just keep the shutters on and don't look at anybody else, because you're going to look at your people that maybe not be doing something in your same field or your same industry, but they're accomplishing stuff so much further than you are, or they are in the same timeline. They made this amount of money, they made more than you, or stuff like that. I'll say looking at other people's success is going to throw you off, because it's going to essentially discourage you of what I'm doing wrong. And I would like to say that, well, my mama, she's a very religious woman of Christian faith, and she always tells me that 9 times out of 10, when something is not going your way, it probably is going your way because that's God's plan, and you trying to focus on what you got. Your clock is your clock, and you should be happy for the people who are coming beside you, who are accomplishing these goals, and like they're getting all this at this certain time, but it's just not your time yet. And I would say the best thing of advice, once you see a person who is accomplishing this in the same time, reach out to them. How'd you do it? Like, what are you doing that? How'd you do this and this? How'd you get this and this time? Reach out to that person and take their advice and try to manipulate it to work specifically for you. But I'd say that's probably the best piece of advice I can say, is worry about your own clock, your own career clock. Because the second that you look at all these other people that are essentially accomplishing whatever in what time, you don't want to get discouraged, because that's going to lose your faith. Just keep the faith, keep grinding, and keep that tunnel vision. By the time you look up, you already going to be where you want to be, because that's what's going to make it more worthwhile.
Yeah, you preaching right now. Like, I understand why they call you the deacon, because you out here preaching right now. Yeah, because it's just so important. Like, you can get caught up in what other people.
It's crazy. I remember we got to a point where I was just like, I was like work. I just started my job that I have now. I was looking at somebody who had a job. They working on getting this big deal with their business, and I'm like, dang, man, like, God, no, like, you feel me? Like, I'm over here, like, what am I doing? You see what I'm saying? Like, what am I doing? And then I realized, like, cool, I'm happy for him. It's just not my time yet.
Yeah.
My time is coming, and the more patient that I am, the more excitement and the more worthwhile that me accomplishing my goals is gonna be in the long run. Yeah. So you just gotta keep your head down, man. You just gotta keep grinding, because your time is coming, and God always got a plan for you. It's just not on your time. You gotta realize you aren't on His time.
Yeah. And I feel like one other tip is, like, I would add to that, like, I feel like it's natural to like watch other people, what other people are doing. Like, that's natural, but it becomes a problem when you start feeling like they are better than you, or like you jealous and envious of those people. Like, what you do is just like, kind of use it as some like healthy competition, like, just like, okay, what can I be doing better to improve my circumstances and working on myself, and then just working and focusing on that and still not comparing, but you just use that as encouragement. Like, okay, I can do more. I can put more into myself. I can read more. I can listen to more podcasts. I can read more books, and just control. Because like, if you're just looking at somebody else and you're looking at their success, and then you go home like boo-hoo, like, it's just like, what is that really doing? Or like, you just hate, like, you just like, what are you hating for? Like, it's just like, it's more than enough for all of us out here. It's just like, you just kind of got to find it within yourself, and then you got to just put it out there. So I definitely put that in, man.
You said it. It's enough for all of us out here. You just got to go get it. It's just the point of the searching part might take a little longer than you want it, but the search for it is the part of the journey. I'll say, don't worry about the end goal. Worry about the journey that you in right now, because that's what's gonna make you stronger.
Yep. Really just having that patience. Patience is key. So can you tell everybody where they can find you, find your companies and all your social media info and everything?
Okay. As far as Level Soul, you can find us on Instagram at level.soul, and it's LEVOL.SOUL. And Directory Noir's Instagram is our only page right now. It's at Directory Noir, DIRECTORYNOIR. Website coming soon, and we got some other stuff in the mix. Gave you a little hint of what's coming. I'll just say just wait on it. But those are our two main social media platforms where you can find what we have coming, and as far as what we're producing right now.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, Lloyd, for coming on. We appreciate you. I'm excited to see
you. I appreciate you having me.
All right, thank you. We'll holler at you later.
Most definitely.
All right, guys.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. What'd you think about that?
That was amazing. I just feel like what's crazy is you don't realize how much like we all really deal with so many of the same issues, like insecurities, kind of like obstacles, and like we all have our own ways of dealing with them no matter what we're doing. And to see that like across the board, I feel like there were so many consistencies on like in a good way, like how to navigate these spaces, how to like be the best version of yourself, you know, like pieces of advice, like all the gems were just amazing.
All right. Well, thank you guys who all have tuned in. We will be having these LinkedIn sessions once a month. So if you just follow us on social media, on Instagram, at Blink Social, wherever we'll put it on here, at Blink Social, on Twitter, at the Blink Social. We got a lot of good things in store. You'll be able to see these streams on YouTube. We're going to be posting different clips and stuff from this event on our social media. So just make sure you stay tuned with us. We appreciate everybody who's came on here. And that's a wrap. Thank you all for tuning in to Blink In.
Have a great Saturday.
See you again.